Content is brought to you by the Lairs and Legends Kickstarter, coming in early 2022. Are you a dungeon master looking to reduce your prep time but still run awesome games for your players? Would you like professional pre-made 5th edition adventures, maps, traps, puzzles, magic items, and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? The Lairs and Legends Kickstarter will create 2 gorgeous hardcover books for dungeon masters containing all of this and more. The first book, Lairs and Legends, will deliver 25 5th edition compatible adventures spanning levels 1 to 15 and over 100 new terrifying monsters to pit against your players. The second book, Loot and Lore, will deliver 50 magic items, 25 puzzles, 40 traps, 10 factions, 30 standalone encounters with maps, 30 villains, 30 NPCs, 70 random tables, 30 adventure ideas, 20 spells, and 4 subclasses. And through the beauty of Kickstarter and stretch goals, we'll be able to commission beautiful artwork for both books and add even more content. Furthermore, in addition to the hardcovers, you can also get both books in PDF format and a digital map pack containing all the maps from both books. And if you'd like to pick up a hardcover copy of our last Kickstarter, Into the Fae, it will be available as an add-on to Lairs and Legends. Click the link below to join the Lairs and Legends email list and get notified when it goes live in early 2022. All right, it's live stream time, baby. I gotta get some tea though. Sweet tea. Gabriel Lacunza, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? What's up, For the? What up, dude? Goliath, hello. Good to see you, Zack. Penguin Butt, great to see you. Hello. No Fun Allowed. Crap. All right. Hello, No Fun Allowed. By popular demand, today's live stream is going to be as boring as I can make it. I'm going to try to take away my personality, my dumb sense of humor. I'm going to try to talk in a monotonous, boring voice. I'm going to try to dull you to death. Because, hey, we need more YouTube channels like that, don't we? It's going to be boring. Boring and monotonous and dry. No fun allowed. You have set the new standard goal of what I do around here. Heather Burke, hello, how you doing? Uh-oh, Heather, what did you do to Penguin Butt? Oh dear, Penguin Butt has a big wrench and she likes using it. Be afraid, be very, no cats? What do you mean no cats? Unicorn, hello. No, not the humor, what's up, Colonel? William, dude, I'm still gonna do the rants, but they'll be very dry and boring. They'll have no emotion. It'll just be a calm recitation that feels like I'm reading from a teleprompter. That's what it's gonna feel like. Aaron, what's up, dude? You like the kitten cam? The kitty cam. We have, oh, hello. Oh, I have a customer already. She needs to be given attention, apparently. Mini Raptor, hello. Paul Delaunay, what up, dude? Jaspers, what up? Jean Soul Bernion. Holy crap, I messed your name up. I'm sorry. There's someone that just left. They're like, Luke, you suck. You should just wait for a little bit when I read off the names of some of my patrons. That's when I really lose fans and followers, and they're all just in droves. What's up, Melikor? How you doing, buddy? MDJ Butcher. Oh, dude, butchers. I like butchers. I knew a girl. She was on my tech writer team, and she was a butcher. I think after high school or something like that. But she would always tell me, Luke, we don't call ourselves butchers. We call ourselves, I forget what she said. Meat processor. I forget. They had there's a technical term. There's like a preferred term for butchers. Instead of butchers, it's like, instead of janitor, they like to say custodians, I think. or something like that. Anyway, she was a butcher, and I think that's super cool. She also, when she was 18, she worked in a liquor store. This is the crazy thing. She was able to sell liquor as long as you were 21 or older, but she was only 18. I thought that was hilarious. And then people would come in and they would ask her for recommendations. I'm like, what? That's crazy. You're like 18. You're like, yeah, I know, Luke, but I had people coming in and they were asking me for recommendations, and I'd be like, well, some people say this, this, and this are good. That was Bethany. I used to work with her on a team at where I work. She was super cool. Had some cool stories. So, Valafor, hello, dude. I'm so happy to hear that you're enjoying Lair magazine. That's awesome. My team puts an amazing amount of work into that, and you have many members of our team are here also. Zack, who is Goliath Cleric, he does a mountain of work for Lair magazine. He writes a good portion of the stuff. He edits. He does some project management stuff. You have Penguin Butt here. She does project management stuff. She does a little bit of editing. She checks over some different things and stuff. Ed is our lead developer. He's not currently here tonight. He's apparently had to play a D&D game, which I think is a little bit of rubbish, but forgivable. And then Danny is another one of our lead writers. She writes a whole crap ton of stuff for us as well. I don't know if she's here tonight. And then we have a bunch of freelancers as well that contribute to the writing and also to the cartography, the different maps we have and stuff. So we have lots of really talented, awesome people that put tons of work in for Lair magazine. Graphic designer as well. So lots of really awesome folk. So I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying it, dude. Okay, let's kick this off, shall we? I'm failing horribly at making the stream boring. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, and thank you for the super chat. Jacob, thank you for the super chat, dude. It says, where's the bacon? I have the bacon. I don't know that have any left to share with you. BK Dan, what's up? I gotta start the stream. All right. Otherwise, we could talk about Burger King. But right now, we're gonna start the stream. So here we go. I couldn't find the button. Hello, welcome to the live stream. I am Luke. I am your host tonight. We're gonna be doing Q&A. You ask D&D questions. You can ask questions. I don't know. You ask questions. I don't care. You could ask questions about YouTube. You could ask questions about, I don't know, my gun collection. I don't know. Just ask questions. I will give you some answers. It'll be amazing. We'll have a fun time. It's Friday. Tomorrow is Saturday, and after that is Sunday, and it's pretty cool. Many of us don't have to go to work, and if you do, well, sorry, I can't control that. But anyway, I'm happy it's Friday. Cool. So yeah, Q&A. What else we got going on here? We got to do some shameless plugs and stuff. The very first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is my Kickstarter, Layers and Legends. It is launching April 5th. And there's a link down in the description. There's a link that one of the moderators will probably be kind enough to post in the chat there. You can follow the project so that you get notified when it launches. It is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to have 2 big old books, hardcover books, with all of the content from 2021 Lair magazine. And here's the thing, because of stretch goals, we're going to add new content. We're going to get custom artwork throughout the entire stinking books. There was a lot of errata and revisions that we did to make things even better. What else did we change? Oh, interior layout and design, completely different, revamped, and amazing. So it's going to add on and improve on all of 2021's Lair magazine issues. So if you don't have Lair magazine from all of 2021, this is going to be your chance to get 2 hardcover books with amazing content and get the whole year's worth, basically, if you don't have it already. So it's gonna be really cool. I'm looking forward to it. Launching April 5th. Basically, the first book is gonna have just a crap ton of adventures in it and new monsters. That's it. You have like adventures spanning at least levels 1 to 15, and then you're gonna have over 100 new monsters just in that book. The second book is just going to be a litany of Dungeon Master resources, puzzles, traps, one-off encounters. What else we got in there? Villains, NPCs. We have a few subclasses. We have a few new spells in there. Not a whole lot of those, but there's crap tons of content in there as well. Basically, the idea is that it gives you almost everything you need to drag and drop into your ongoing campaign or to create a campaign from scratch. The idea is reduce your prep time, improve your games. You know, you've heard the spiel. Digital maps that you can easily put into the, what do you call those things? The virtual tabletop of your choice. So it could be really, really cool. There's a link again down in the description below where you can follow the project for when it launches. It's going to be super sweet. I've said that many times. I hope you get the point. Like, Luke, shut up. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, we are trying to raise money for the Capital Area Humane Society. It is the Humane Society where I live. They do a lot of awesome things for dogs and cats and maybe other animals. All tips go to the Humane Society. If you would like to donate, there's a link down in the chat there somewhere. I'm sure one of my moderators will put it down there. As you know, I love animals. I have 7 cats. I have 1 dog. I have a squirrel. So I love doing things that help benefit animals. And this is what we're doing right now, trying to raise money for Capital Area Humane Society. We're about 2/3 of the way to our $500 goal, it looks like, which is very, very cool. By the way, our squirrel is going to get released pretty soon here. He is going nuts. He was born back in August, and we've been like raising him up and trying to get him healthy and stuff because he was abandoned by his mother and half dead when we found him. And now he's just a rambunctious little turd, and he's going to get released because he is currently living in our 3 Seasons room. He's got the whole 3 Seasons room to himself, you know, which in the winter is not that big of a deal. But in the spring, we're going to want it back. We had to take all of our furniture out because he was chewing the furniture. In the span of 1 or 2 hours, he chewed through the backs of a lot of our wicker furniture, and I have to get replacement pieces for it all now. Thanks. And it was just like a couple hours, and it was like, holy crap, what happened out here? So yeah, we had to yank all the furniture. Anyway, beautiful little squirrel. We love him, but he's not living in the house much longer. Thank you, Kirby. You are the man. Really appreciate that, dude. Love that crap. Thank you for the tip, dude. Kirby is like he's our tipping king. You're awesome, dude. All right, what else I got to tell you? Yes, we're almost there. All right, we're gonna do some shout outs to our lovely patrons. Lovely, wonderful patrons. We have confirmed they're all very lovely. All right, so basically, the DM Lair and my team, we do a whole bunch of stuff for the D&D community. We publish tons of free resources over on the dmlair.com. You can get free adventures, traps, puzzles, NPCs, monsters, etc. to use in your games, 100% free. We also obviously do the videos, we do the live streams, we do tons of free stuff for folks, and we also publish premium content such as Lair magazine. And my patrons help support all of that, and I'm very, very deeply appreciative to them. And so you're seeing on screen a lot of their names of the different folk that help make everything that we do at the DM Lair possible. So wonderful, amazing people. Thank you so much for your support. Really, really appreciate it. And then these folks right here, they give me more money, which I interpret as a bribe, to read their names off. So here we go. 5e Magic Shop, Aerospatial, Alex T, Amanda W, Ambers, Amy P, Andrew M, Andre U, Andy S, Andy W, Anthony M, Antoine B, Arutha, Baldwin, Benjamin B, Brad A, Brandon A, Celestina K, Chase O, Chris C, Chris E, Cody B, Colton T, Contrary Gravy, Corey S, Draxus, Dresna Dutch, Ed R, Edward L, Ericos, Philip H, Flame Black 200, Frog, Goliath Cleric, Gravy Chorn, Girl Munder H, Ian F, Iron Lord 79, It's Bayoban, Izzy T, Jackie Pizza, I love pizza, Jake L, Jacob K, James L, Jeremy W, that might be her last name. If that's your last name and I just offended you, I apologize, but I do love pizza. Jerry W, if your last name is Pizza, that is amazing, I must say. Jessica J, JM, John A, Joseph H, Josh S, Justin P, Cal S, KK, Keith L, Kevin F, Kezides, Kirby, Kyle G, Kyle M, Labraworks, Leopold X92, Leon Lionheart, Marwin R, Matthew J, Melinda G, Miro Stahl, Mr. Linkanu, Mr. T, Nikita S, O&D, Penguin Butt, Pierre P, published author, Radiance Guardians, Ramus, Reslick, Race W, Renner C, Robert C, Ron R, Ronald Ryan, SG Saunders, Sakura Sir John, Shane L, Sheila A, Snapbragger, Snowy Tiggy, Son of a Sofa Man, Soul Naya, Status Alive, that's a good way to be. Steven, Stefan, we gotta confirm this one day. It's a PH, I get confused every time. Steve D, Stephen A, Tactile Tokens, Talking Napkin, the 3/4 Hospital, the Old DM, the Pickle, the Casual Nerd, the New Bad Ombre, Thomas T, Tiger 500, Tim Black, Tom M, Traveling Kesh, Tristan W, Tyler R, Vincent G, Vladimir S, Will M, and XX Red Drum. Woo! No offense, but the pizza name was cool. I like that. It's good stuff. All right. I believe we have done all of our stuff and we can start answering questions now. It's amazing. What's my favorite pizza topping? Okay, so the place, Gaming Booger. Sorry, we do this every time. It's a thing. I'm gonna show you my favorite pizza place. Hold on. I'm gonna show you their menu. Well, I don't know if I can actually show it to you, but I might be able to find their menu at the very least. Hold on a second. Well, I'll just read off what they got on here. Where's their favorite thing? There we go. Okay, it is a pizza. It's called a street special, and it has on it pepperoni, ham, mushrooms, onion, green pepper, and green olives. The only thing that it's really lacking that I consider quasi required is black olives. So if that had black olives on it, it's like perfect. Yeah, I like a variety of different things. I like different meats on there and a bunch of different vegetables as well. And it just gives this really nice taste to it. But black olives are amazing. I love black olives. There's this cafeteria at my day job that I go to usually about once a week to get like a wrap. And I love getting tons of hummus on it and tons of black olives and just full of vegetables, just everything. Pretty much I'm just like, they have all the things you can choose from. And I'm like, okay, that from here to here, a little bit of everything. From here to here, a little bit of everything. And then when she gets to the black olives, I'm like, yeah, could you put a whole bunch of those on, please? And she's like, and then she's like trying to fold it and it's like, it doesn't want to close. And I'm just like, mission accomplished. And she's got to know me by now. And she's like, oh, here comes that guy again. He's going to order the wrap that won't close. Black olives are just older green olives? No, I'm Googling this. Chef Matt. Oh, wait, whoa. Do I need to Google this? His name is Chef Matt. I don't even know if I need to Google this. Hold on a second. How do you make black olives? All right, here we go. They are picked very green and then cured using dilute brine and lye solutions. Lye treatments can cause phenolic compounds in olives to oxidize to black color. Oh, they're okay. So they're picked green and then they're like, okay, pickled or something. They're olivized. Interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you, chef. I should not have questioned you. All right, questions. How long does a quest need to be for a level up in a milestone method? I don't think that there's really any solid answer for that. That you can suit that to your taste, in all honesty. I like my players to level. I prefer them to level up. About every maybe 4 game sessions or so. I feel like that's a good place. It doesn't always happen that way. So I try to schedule or time my milestones for game sessions. In other words, I will plan an adventure, and usually by the time my players reach level 5 or so, usually one adventure takes them about 3, maybe 4 game sessions, unless you're Curse of Strahd in the Amber Temple, and then it takes a whole lot longer. But that's a big adventure. And so if I can get a decent sized adventure and it takes about 3 or 4 game sessions, that's a milestone. Now at the lower levels, I would say that if you're level 1, you should hit a milestone after probably the first adventure, or if it's crazy short, the second adventure. Because level 1, you just want to get them to level 2. You know, you want them to just get a few more hit points, get some cool stuff. You don't need to spend too much time at level 1. Level 2 is kind of the same story. Once you're at level 3 though, you can start to settle down into a pace where you get a milestone every 3 or 4 game sessions. I feel like that's pretty good. If you play every other week, that usually turns out to be reaching level 20 in about 2 to 3 years, which I think is a fairly good pace. And when you're leveling up every 3 to 4 game sessions, it gives you time to get used to the cool new stuff you got, and you're like, okay, cool, and you're using it and you're having fun. And then maybe just when it's the novelty of it and the cool factor starts to wear off, then you get another level and you get some more cool stuff. And so the pacing of that, I think, is really good. Now, that doesn't always happen in my games. Ask some of my Ancient Dragon players and they'll tell you that they've had some really long stretches where they didn't level. I mean, it happens. Sometimes they just choose to do things that aren't milestones, and it's not my fault. My Curse of Strahd game, I don't know how long they were in Amber Temple. They were in Amber Temple for, I think, 3 months, maybe, which would be like 6 game sessions. I think it took them quite a bit longer. It took a long time, but that's my thoughts on the milestone system. But it's to suit your taste too. You know, you could do it faster if you wanted to. You know, if you have short adventures that last 2 game sessions, you could level up each time if you wanted to. There's no hard and fast rule to it, really. I would caution against having it take too often, because once you're waiting, like, I don't know, half a year to gain a level, that gets old. The thing is that what motivates, in my opinion, what motivates a good portion of players to play games like D&D is leveling up, gaining more powers and stuff, because that's really what, when you have a leveling game like D&D where there is a big difference between level 1 and level 20, then half of the fun for the players, for many of them, not all obviously, but for many of them, is the whole idea that you're leveling up and you're gaining powers and you're gaining hit points and you're gaining special abilities. Like, that's half of the fun of the game, is doing that. That's part of the appeal for me when I'm playing the game. So I feel like if you make it take too long, then you're kind of taking away a bit of that fun, you know, part of that motivation why players want to play the game. So I would caution and, you know, be cognizant of that so that you don't make it take too long. No fun allowed. How was your day today? It was very good. I had a wonderful day. I went to the range. I went to the range on my lunch break and shot my new gun. Let me see if I can show you. Am I allowed to talk about weapons on YouTube? Well, if I talk about it too much, they'll probably be like, gun related content. All right, let me see if I can find it for you. It's the Zion 15. I'm just gonna show you a picture of it. Stand by. It's a Zion 15. And I'm just gonna show you a quick picture of it. We're not gonna talk about it a whole lot because YouTube will freak out on me. I gotta see if I can find a good picture of it though. Here we go. Open image in new tab. Here we go. Yeah. All right, here we go. Check this bad boy out. Woo! Actually, you know what? The sights on it are pretty much, no, those are my exact sights. They are. I have those, but I also have in the back, I have a small little magnifying scope. It's a 3x magnifier. But yeah, this is what I was, 100 rounds through this bad boy. The barrel was starting to get a little hot. I had to let it cool off. I literally was like, after I get done, I let it sit on the table and then I like sweep up my brass and stuff, you know, leisurely clean up the area and stuff. And people, I mean, I like to be helpful and clean it up after myself and stuff, but my real motivation is I gotta let the barrel cool down a little bit before I put it back in my bag because I'm afraid it's gonna like melt the interior lining and stuff. So anyway, that was fun. I enjoyed doing that. But we can't talk about that a whole lot because YouTube has problems with that sort of stuff. Ooh, knives and axes. Oh, that's cool. I like that. It's not snowing outside. No, it's not snowing outside. There's a lake behind my house that has like, it's still frozen over and has some snow on top of it. But it was actually up to about 40 degrees today. It was really nice out. I was excited. David Knuckle, what's up, dude? How you doing? Or maybe it's Kunkle. Sorry, Kunkle. I read Knuckle. I gotta zoom out a little bit. I can't read this. How do I zoom out? All right, hold on a second. The spreadsheet is zoomed in too much and I can't read things. I gotta zoom out. There we go. I fixed it. All right. What's my favorite? Unicorns ask, what's my favorite gun? Well, I have a Shadow 2, which is very nice, but it's very big. My everyday carry is what the heck is that thing? It's a CZ. CZ's the maker. What is that thing? 75? Yeah, it's a CZ 75 Omega. That one's very nice. I just have iron sights on that, but it's really nice. I like that. It's kind of big for an everyday carry, but I like it. But I mean, I just got that Zion 15, and right now I gotta say that's my favorite. But it's a big boy. It's a big boy. It's got a 16-inch, barrel on it and stuff. But it's well balanced. It's amazingly well balanced. So I'm liking it a lot. But if we're talking pistols, then I'd have to say my CZ75 is probably my favorite. I have a 1911, 22 gauge 1911, which is cool. But it's just a 22 gauge. But I love the 1911 style. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Maybe a little pain in the butt to clean, a little, but not too bad. All right, here we go. What is your favorite part of being a dungeon master? It depends. Sometimes I like the act of designing the adventures, putting the adventures together, and thinking of cool stuff that's going to happen. And then I like running the adventure at the table and seeing what my players do and seeing them get excited or have fun. Sometimes I don't like designing adventures and I feel like it's a pain in the butt to me, but I still like running the game and seeing what happens. I love the laughter. I love the camaraderie, the joking around. I love the fact that you can meet strangers and pull strangers into a game and have fun and then turn that into friendships and stuff. So, I don't know. It depends sometimes, and it varies. Sometimes, and what I like about it might shift from day to day. If I have time and I don't have a whole lot of stuff to do, which doesn't happen very often, but if I have a leisurely day, designing adventures is very enjoyable for me, and I really like it. The problem is that when you are pressured because you have a lot of stuff to get done, designing adventures, because you're trying to just get it done, it's not as enjoyable. So that's probably my only lament, is that it would be more fun if you just didn't have the pressure of a whole bunch of stuff that's got to get done. But there's a few different things there that I like. Can we see the squirrel? I can show you pictures of the squirrel. Yeah, I have some pictures. Hold on a second. I'm sure I can find some pictures for you that I can show you of the squirrel. Oh, well, okay. Well, here's my dog. She's afraid of those watermelons. I got that watermelon cord for her to play with, and she's afraid of it. So that didn't really work. I'm trying to find a picture of my squirrel. Oh, here we go. Here's some pictures of my squirrel. All right. So here's the squirrel eating. He's in our, see, you can see he lives in our 3 Seasons room. He has the entire room. That's his house. That's where he lives. That's, by the way, that little box there you see on that ladder, that's where that's his house. Let's go back to where that shows it a little bit better here. There you go. That right there is up on a ladder right now in our 3 Seasons room, and he lives in it. Eventually, that is going to get screwed and like affixed to a tree outside, where then he'll live there in a tree outside. But right now, we got him acclimated to that box, so he knows that that is his habitat. That is like it was literally, I got it off eBay. It's specifically made for squirrels. So that's his deal. Yeah, he's a little maniac. So that's one little, I had a couple of them. Here's another one of him eating. Then here's another one. It's a video, so you can watch him eat. There it is. Eating. Oh, there he goes. He's like, okay, I'm climbing up here now. I'm gonna hide this for later. He hides food all over the place. He's absolutely insane. He's like, woo! He just jumped on me. He's like, woo! Yeah, he's nuts. Yep, that's our squirrel. Oh my gosh, I'm missing super chats. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at super chats now. I'm so bad. Oh my gosh. Okay, well let's take a look at the kitties. We have a request for the kitties. Here we go. Chicane, thank you so much for the $10 tip. That goes 100% of that $10 tip will go to the Capital Area Humane Society. I appreciate that. We are raising money for the Capital Area Humane Society, so if you want a tip, there is a link in the chat where you can do so. Marcus Schwartz, thank you for the $25 tip. Very much appreciate that. We are getting very close to our goal. Also, we're probably maybe under $100 away from our $500 goal. Very, very nice. Thank you, Marcus. And let's see. Wookie Pirate, thank you for the $10 tip. Appreciate that. Thank you. Amara Jensen, thank you for the $5 super chat. Can we see the cats, please? Yes, we are now looking at the cats. Oh, mommy. Mommy needs attention. They're getting excited. They need to wait a little bit. It's about a half an hour before they get their treats. Kirby, dude, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. I really appreciate that, dude. Kirby says, just wanted to say thanks again for running the stack up one shot. Had a blast. P.S. Sorry, Ambers. Lol. What happened to Ambers? Did she die? Wait a second. Didn't you all die? I think didn't you all TPK? Trying to remember. I thought you all TPK'd. I swear. What happened, Kirby? Did you guys all die, or did like just one of you die or something? I can't remember exactly. I run so many games. Anyway, I was happy to run that for you, Kirby. I think, was it you that said that you're mostly just a dungeon master and you've been a player like 4 times or something? So yeah, so always happy to help you be a player a little bit, dude. Yeah, I killed Amber. Sorry. Who's the cutie in the collar? Is that Squirty Pie? Enma. Dude, that's little guy. Little guy, come here. You little butthead, come here. Come here. Look at this guy. Okay, so this is little guy. He is absolutely adorable, but I gotta tell you, he doesn't want to get picked up, first of all. Ed, our lead developer, has already claimed little guy. He's apparently gonna sneak into my house one night and steal him. I believe those were his exact words. I'm probably making that up, but I'm convinced that he's gonna try to take little guy from me one of these days, probably as payment for doing all the work that he does for us or something. But anyway, that's little guy. He's adorable. They're lined up. Look at them. I'm going nuts down here. BK Dan, thank you for the $2 super chat. Yeah, it's tea tonight. I'm drinking tea tonight, and I'll be getting the fill up on that in about a half an hour. I gotta pace it out. By the way, folks, if you're just joining us and you haven't heard about Lairs and Legends, that's our Kickstarter that's going to be starting on April 5th. There's a link down in the chat that you can look at if you want to follow the project. and be notified when it goes live. Basically, we're going to be taking all of the content of Lair magazine from 2021, putting it into 2 gorgeous hardcover books, Lairs and Legends and Loot and Lore. And these hardcover books are going to have crap tons of 5e adventures for you to run, over 100 new monsters. The adventures will go from levels 1 to 15. And then the other book, Lairs, Loot and Lore, will have puzzles, traps, NPCs, magic items, new NPCs, I said that, villains, a little bit of spells, and some subclasses and stuff. So yeah, really, really cool. You can check that out. Click that link and you can follow it. And it's really cool. It looks like it's getting truncated. Is that link actually working? I clicked it. Go to site. I want to make sure it's actually working. Yep, it's working. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right. Anyway, yes. Check out Lairs and Legends. It's going to be awesome. April 5th, baby. Now let's go back to our sheet here. Where can I get quick to prepare profecal? I'm sorry. I'm like, what? Professional made adventures. This sounds like a plant. It really sounds like a plant. Kieran Henderson, thank you so much for that question. I would happily answer that question. The best place that I know of to get pre-made professional made adventures that you can use in your games is the DM Lair. We publish a few different resources that you could find helpful. We publish Lair magazine every single month to DM Lair patrons. It usually has about 50 pages or so, 2 to 3 adventures in it, monsters, NPCs, magic items, lots of resources for you to use in your games. That's for DM Lair patrons. Every single month they get that. And depending on your tier, you'll also get things like map packs, digital maps you can use in your games. And then one of the tiers gets an extra D&D 5e adventure as well. You can also go to the DM Lair store, where we have back issues of Lair magazine and lots of other adventures, and all the map packs are on there as well. So a few different options for you if you want to get some very, very well done 5e content to use in your games. Here we go. You see why I said that seemed like a plant? It wasn't though. It was legitimate. It was totally legitimate. How do you pace your sessions to accomplish a lot in one session? The truth of the matter is that I do not approach my game sessions with getting stuff accomplished in mind. That is not my goal. That is not my focus. That is not a priority. I quite frankly don't care how much gets accomplished in a game session. I don't care how much of the adventure or the dungeon or the quest my players make progress on. That's not my primary concern. My primary concern, I would say, is giving my players the freedom to play the game and have fun while they do it. So I'm not trying to hurry them along the adventure to get it done so we can go on to the next one. I'm not trying to like work my way through a module, all these modules I got on my shelf that don't usually get played because we do homemade stuff. I'm not trying to hurry my players along. That's not a concern of mine. I don't care how much they get done or how much they don't get done. Now, that said, if things are going too slow and they're taking forever trying to make a decision, and I can tell that the pace is going down, which results in unfun because we have stopped playing the game essentially, and we've just started having a discussion about what to do next. Like, how long are you going to talk about what to do next? Like, you guys have been talking about what to do next for 20 minutes now. You could have gotten to the next place and you could have been having fun playing the game, but instead we have a long discussion about what to do next. And so there's got to be a balance, right? They need to be given the reins a little bit so they can have the freedom to kind of do things and not feel rushed along. Like, I don't want to hurry them and rush them. But at the same point, when they start to go down a rabbit hole where you're just stuck in a discussion or something that's not advancing things. And it's also resulting in people not enjoying themselves, because you can tell, you could see a couple people who are like, you know, I just kind of want to play the game. Like, these two people here are really interested about making sure we do just the right thing next. But nobody else cares. The rest of us just want to go to any one of those places and have fun. So I don't worry too much about pace in so much as accomplishing stuff that was planned, stuff in the adventure. I do care about pace in so much that the pace is sufficient for everybody to feel like we're actually doing something and we're having fun doing that thing. In other words, that we're actually playing the game. I know that technically having those discussions about what to do next and making decisions is technically part of playing the game. But in my opinion, it is usually one of the least interesting parts of playing the game. Unless you have a very, very usually niche circumstance where you have to choose between two things and you know that there are severe consequences for your choice. Sometimes you have those situations. Other times it doesn't really matter and you just need to pick something. So I know that making decisions and stuff is kind of technically part of playing the game, but it's usually the least interesting part of playing the game. And it really should just be hopefully taken care of quickly so that you can actually play the parts of the game that are most appealing to people. And so I do pay attention to pacing in that regard. I also pay attention to pacing in the sense of there are some parts of the game, such as combat, that are very tense, that are very like go, 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 and you're very like on your edge of your seat, and they're like a high stakes, high emotion, and you know, adrenaline perhaps a little bit. And then there are other parts of the game, such as exploration or social interactions, that are not as tense, that are a little more laid back and relaxed. And so for pacing, you do want to try to alternate between combat and some exploration and a social interaction, because that pacing and that variance is going to make your games more fun. If everything's always combat, it can get old. And even people who love combat might get tired of that. They need a break from that. And if everything's always exploration, that'll get old, potentially. Same with social interaction. Like, I love social interaction, I love the talkie-talkie, but put me in a game session that's all talkie-talkie, and dude, I'm starting a fight. I am starting a fight with somebody, I guarantee you. So there are pacing considerations to be had in the game, but in my opinion, they have very little to do with hurrying the plot along and accomplishing things in the actual adventure. That is lower priority for me personally when I'm running a game. As long as there's forward progress being made and people are having fun and the pace is enjoyable, then I'm satisfied. I'm afraid to break this thing. Can you make that question like purple or something so that I can see it on the sheet? But I'm terrified. I'm terrified. Usually what I do is in the notes column, I'll make a little note about questions, but then it seems like we break the spreadsheet every time I do anything. So I don't want to do that, but I do want that question. There we go. That'll. All right, cool. List Ugoi Boy, thank you for the $5 tip. I appreciate that. Let me see, it's over here. No, I don't know where it is in the sheet. I bit the bullet, put one level into sorcerer, have the dragon resilience formula for AC. Now I got one last question. I also have unarmored defense for both monk and barbarian. What takes priority, the newest, the oldest, or do I get to choose when I level up? I'm not super familiar with all of those. I know the unarmored defense. I'm not super familiar with the dragon resilience. We could look at it and think about it a whole lot, but I'm going to go with my gut on this. And I'm going to say that they probably don't stack. One, my gut. I would probably do some more research if my player were actually asking me and see if that question had been answered somewhere. but my guess is they probably don't stack. And I would give the player the choice of which they would like to use. If you want to use your unarmored defense, go for it. If you want to use your dragon resilience, go for it. Now, most players are going to pick the one that's higher, and I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to make a decision that forces them to, you pick this one first, and you're stuck with it. Even if it's like the worst one of the two, the worst one. So I would give the player the choice, essentially, and I don't think they would stack. Jaspers, thank you for $2 super chat. Have you played Baldur's Gate 3 yet? No, I haven't. I don't think I will. There was another game that was based on it. It used the same game engine. What was that? What was the? Oh man, I have it. I'm gonna pull up Steam. Where is Steam? I played this other game that I think it was based on. Divinity 2. Wasn't it? Wasn't the Baldur's Gate? Don't they use the same engine as Divinity 2? Original Sins? I think they do. Yeah. And I was playing Divinity 2 just a little bit for like maybe 1 or 2 days. And I don't know, I didn't really get into it. I wasn't really getting into it and feeling it. And so if I'm not, if it's the same engine, it's essentially the same game with like different flavor. And if I wasn't getting into the first one, then I'm not going to get into the second one either. I'm not going to get into Baldur's Gate 3. So no. And you know what? I didn't like, honestly, the whole premise of you're going to play as one of the companions of the hall. You're going to play as Drizzt or Wulfgar or Bruenor or Canterbury or Regis or something. I didn't like that concept. Like, I don't want to play as those heroes. I don't. I want to create my own character that I get to play. That's for me, for RPGs, that's the fun of a role-playing game. For a computer-based role-playing game, it's I create my character that I think is cool. I don't want to create these characters. I don't want to play these characters that you've already made. I don't care. It doesn't interest me. So, yeah. Yeah, I was like, Peak D&D, Divinity. I was playing Divinity 2, and I only got to I got through the introductory adventure on the ship where the ship is like sinking or burning or something. And then I got to like the little town or something, the little fortification where you're like a bad person or criminal or something, I suppose. And there was one fight that I went to that was nuts. It was unbeatable. There was this one guy, and maybe you're not supposed to fight him. I don't know, but I got into a fight with him, and he murderized me and I think I had 3 other companions at that point. We got destroyed. And I'm just like, wow. Actually, that's when I stopped playing the game, and I haven't gone back to it. Oh. Oh, you can create your own character in Baldur's Gate 3? Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. Lord God, thank you for the $7 super chat. Appreciate that. I have a PC being played by an understudy for that character. Hold on. I don't even know what that means. I have a PC being played by an understudy for that character. I don't understand that sentence. What is a good way to give them plot armor till the owner of the PC returns? What? I don't understand the question. I'm assuming that there is a PC and the player is not there. So somebody else is playing that PC. And it sounds like you don't want the PC to die because the player's not actually there. The other person is playing them, and if they die, you're going to feel bad, and the other player is probably not going to be happy about their PC dying when they weren't even there playing the game. That's what it sounds like the question is. So I don't think I would give that PC plot armor. I don't really believe in that. Because they could just be like, well, you got plot armor, you can't die. So you can do anything, you can take all the risks in the world, and you can't die. And so that understudy, that stand-in, is just going to be whatever. So what I tell my players is, if you're not here, somebody else, and this is usually, this is always a discussion with each group to see what the group decides to do. My Curse of Strahd game, if somebody is not there at the game session, Their character is still there and somebody else plays their character. And if their character dies while they're not there, their character dies. That's life. That is the group agreement. For my Ancient Dragon campaign, if one of the players is not there, their character is gone. We have this thing where they get grabbed by tentacles and they get pulled into the void, and then they're gone. And then when the player shows back up for the next game session, the void opens up and the tentacles spit their character back out. It's a hand wave that gets their character out of the game. That way, we don't have to deal with the situation of somebody else running the PC and maybe getting them killed. And again, that is a decision that the group came upon and a mechanic that we decided upon, that helps us, you know, feel comfortable and good and happy about that stuff. So I don't think I recommend plot armor. I think I would rather say, hey, if you're not here and you want your character to be here, if he dies, he dies. If you're not here and you don't want your character to be here, then we'll come up with a reason why he's gone. And he just won't be here. And I think that that is preferable, in my opinion, than giving plot armor. Any tips for goblin variants? We have some goblin variants in Lair magazine. Which issue was that? Oh, I don't know. The Goblin Mob. We published some goblin variants in Lair magazine. I don't know which one it was in. Maybe Zack or somebody could find that information. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. You just create them. You create some variants that are different. Maybe a little beefier one, does a little more damage. One that can do spell casting, one that's an archer, one that might be an alchemist that can throw potions. Just use your imagination. Come up with a variety of different ideas that you could come up with to make goblins more interesting in combat and do cool things, and then you stat them out. It's a matter of brainstorming, using creativity to come up with some ideas, and then statting them out. And you don't have to create the stat blocks from scratch. You can find something similar to your idea and modify it. That's usually the faster and easier way to go about things. You can also just take existing stat blocks and just call them goblins. And you're done. Have you ever heard of the RPG engine? Nope, I haven't. Sorry. How do you like metal dice? I hate the feel of plastic resin dice. I like metal dice. They're very nice. And you know, they double as a weapon too. Okay, that question needs to stop getting answered and asked. Somebody is spamming that question right there. Have you had any success running a sword and sorcery style game? You know, this is very interesting. I think the Dungeon Master Guide talks about the different styles of games. And it'll talk about horror. I think there's like a sword and sorcery. There's like maybe a high fantasy or low fantasy or low magic or high magic. I don't know. The Dungeon Master Guide talks about these different styles and stuff. And I read through the descriptions, and a lot of them seem so similar that they're almost like, how do you actually tell the difference? What kind of game are you at? Now, a horror game, that's pretty distinct. All right. But a swords and sorcery or a fantasy game, like, how are you going to tell the difference between those things? I'm sure that somebody that's a lot more technical and educated than I am will know the difference and be able to categorize them and stuff. But to me, they all kind of bleed together. I would consider that the games that I run probably are swords and sorcery fantasy games or something. So, have they been successful? Maybe. I'd ask my players. They're still here. A lot of them playing. That's probably a good guideline for success. If your players don't leave your games, I mean, yeah, like if you keep losing players, then you can probably say that you're not being successful. If your players stick around for a while, you can probably say that you're being successful. That's probably a very good guideline for success. I think as a dungeon master, just off the cuff here, if your players are constantly leaving, there's something going on. It might not be your players. Swords and sorcery is a subgenre of fantasy. Yeah, I'm just not like educated enough on all that stuff, I suppose. I'm just running games and killing characters, I suppose. Too much. Big Will Comics says, I lost my metal D4 and I am fearing for my life. You should, because those little caltrops, dude, especially a metal one, whoo, dude, that's messed up. See, look at Major Masks. I don't understand the difference between fantasy and sword and sorcery. I don't either, dude. I don't either, dude. So maybe somebody in the chat will fill us in. Oh, I got that one. Oh, I have a notice here. Subscribers only chat is preventing people from using the chat. I confirmed on an alt account. Some new subscribers cannot use it even after 15 minutes and resetting and other troubleshooting. Really? That's causing a problem? All right, let me see if I can change that really quick. I'll try to change it on the fly here so that anybody can send messages. There. Okay, cool. I just changed it so that anybody can chat now. So hopefully that fixes that. Thank you, moderators, for throwing that up there. What's your favorite pizza topping? I think I answered that one. How do you make higher level characters feel mortal? Killing them. What's the definition of mortality? That you can die. That you die. That is what mortality means. You die. I will die. You will die. My adorable little kitties will die. We are mortal. Mortal means we exist in this present world, and then at some undefined point in the future, we will die and we will be gone. So, if you want high-level characters to feel mortal, you give them challenges worthy of their level, worthy of their powers and abilities. You make them feel mortal. Sometimes they run into things that kick the snot out of them, and they are barely scraping by, and they barely survive. And they are relieved when that combat is over, and they're licking their wounds, and they're like, holy crap, we need a short rest. A short rest? We need a long rest. And they retreat from the dungeon, and they long rest. And you repopulate the dungeon with a few more baddies. That is how you make high-level characters feel mortal. Put challenges in their path. Make things challenging. You don't gotta necessarily kill them. I mean, you don't want to intentionally ever kill characters. I never recommend that. But put worthy challenges in front of them. Make them earn their W's. That is how you make them feel mortal. And every so often, things are gonna go south. And somebody will die. But don't worry about it, because it's 5th edition. And remember, in 5th edition, we're all pansies, because death means nothing. It's hard to die to begin with. And even if you do die, you get resurrected. Easy peasy, not a problem at all. So don't worry about it. Give them challenges. If somebody dies, they die. They're gonna get resurrected. Don't sweat it. Not a big deal. The only true thing that is really horrifying is a total TPK, because then they're all dead. And then there's no recovery. But failing that, it's not a problem. Put some nice challenges in front of them. Now be careful. You don't want the entire game to just be hard, 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 because then it feels like a slog, like a grinder, and they're gonna be squealing for mercy, and they're probably gonna hate it. You need a variety of challenges, ups and downs, trivial stuff, easy stuff, medium stuff. Holy crap, that's hard. Oh, easy. Woo. Okay, now we get some exploration. Now we get some social interactions. Oh, there's an easy encounter. Haha, we beat them. Holy crap, a dragon. We're screwed. So remember, you want a variety of challenges when you're designing your encounters. And when you're designing encounters that are almost assuredly going to become combats, you want a variety. But if you want high-level characters to feel mortal, make death a possibility and give them challenges from time to time that make them feel mortal. They barely squeak by and sometimes they die. That is how you do that. Now, in 5th edition, that is a challenge for dungeon masters, because the game system is not designed to help you in that regard. The game system is designed for high-level characters to be almost invincible, and that is by design. You've got to work your butt off, and you've got to throw some challenges at them that the math, the challenge rating system, would say otherwise. That I have thrown at high-level characters encounters that are 3 to 4 times past the deadly threshold. And guess what? They still win. Sometimes just barely, sometimes easily. And so sometimes you need to ignore all of their CR challenge rating calculations that get totally broken at level 12 and beyond, especially 15 and beyond, and just throw some crazy deadly stuff at them and see how they do. Now, unfortunately, sometimes I've had high-level parties that come across something that's easy and they get their butts handed to them too. So things are a little bit swingy and things get crazy at higher levels. So the game system doesn't make that job easy for you to make high-level characters feel mortal, but you have tools and you have things and you can throw challenges at them that make things more difficult. You can do it. You just got to stretch yourself. And I would take it incrementally. Make things a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. Push the limits. See how far you can go. See what your character, the players are capable of, their tactics and their strategy and how they approach things. See what their characters are capable of. Different characters have different capabilities. Some characters are super, super, super powerful, min-maxed little powerhouses. Other characters are pretty weak. So you got to slowly push the boundary to see what your players' characters can handle in the game, to see how challenging you can make things before they're going to break, you know? And so that's how you do it. That's how you make a high-level game more challenging. You make them feel mortal. You make the game more challenging through those various mechanisms. So there you go. All right. Good. All right, that's a good place to take a break. All right, we're gonna, oh, have I mentioned the giveaway? I didn't mention the giveaway. Oh, I am a bad streamer person. Yeah, we're doing a giveaway tonight, folks. You can win a book, a D&D book of your choice, or you can get store credit on the DM Lair store where you can get back issues of Lair magazine, you can get one-off adventures, you can get map packs, you can get lots of cool stuff on. You can get my End of the Fae module as well over on the DM Lair store. So there's a link for the giveaway. If you haven't gotten in on the giveaway, go sign up. You get a chance to win some free stuff and it doesn't cost you a dime. It's really pretty easy. So yeah, if you want some free crap, go sign that thing right there. So next, we are gonna give the cats some kitty treats. This is the kitty treats and they're gonna have a wonderful, wonderful time. But first, I'm gonna play you a very, very important message for my next Kickstarter not Into the Fae, my next Kickstarter, Layers and Legends, which is launching April 5th. This content is brought to you by the Layers and Legends Kickstarter, coming in early 2022. Are you a dungeon master looking to reduce your prep time but still run awesome games for your players? Would you like professional pre-made 5th edition adventures, maps, traps, puzzles, magic items, and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? The Layers and Legends Kickstarter will create 2 gorgeous hardcover books for dungeon masters containing all of this and more. The first book, Layers and Legends, will deliver 25 5th edition compatible adventures spanning levels 1 to 15 and over 100 new terrifying monsters to pit against your players. The second book, Loot and Lore, will deliver 50 magic items, 25 puzzles, 40 traps, 10 factions, 30 standalone encounters with maps, 30 villains, 30 NPCs, 70 random tables, 30 adventure ideas, 20 spells, and 4 subclasses. And through the beauty of Kickstarter and stretch goals, we'll be able to commission beautiful artwork for both books and add even more content. Furthermore, in addition to the hardcovers, you can also get both books in PDF format and a digital map pack containing all the maps from both books. And if you'd like to pick up a hardcover copy of our last Kickstarter, Into the Fae, it will be available as an add-on to Layers and Legends. Click the link below to join the Layers and Legends email list and get notified when it goes live in early 2022. All right, wonderful. Somebody told me not to shake this because their cats would go crazy. Look at my cats. By the way, Anna Balefire, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. You say you're new to D&D and stuff, hoping to learn stuff. Well, we're gonna help you out. Moderators, please make sure Anna's questions get a little flag so I can make sure to give her some answers if she would like some. And right now, it's kitty treat time. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. All right, you crazy maniacs. Alrighty then. Yeah. Hold your horses. Big baby. Orange. All right. I'm gonna get some coffee. Another cat was outside. I took some of those treats and I gave them to my dog. I noticed there were only 3 cats left. And I'm like, they don't need that many treats. And so now my Chihuahua Zoe is eating some of them. She's over here on my other side. Oh. Anata Sesa, thank you for becoming a member. Really appreciate that. Adobe Gaming, also thank you for becoming a member. As a reminder, members get priority in their questions they ask. So, oh, Owen Davies as well. Hello, Owen. I know you. Thank you guys, appreciate that. Fat Cat and Fat Friends. Hey, am I the fat friend? Melchior, that's not very nice. You're gonna hurt my feelings. I'm a sensitive person and I get upset when people make fun of me. Yeah. There's some people that it annoys me. It's like they're on YouTube. There's one of them that's like in the D&D niche, apparently, and they gets really upset when people say things that, I don't know, criticize them or something, I don't know. But anyway, apparently they get really upset. And have even turned comments on videos off because they're very sensitive, apparently. I don't know. But it's like, if you are going to be a public figure on YouTube, putting your face out there and stuff and expressing your opinions in comments, then you need to be prepared for people who disagree with you to disagree with you and not be so sensitive. Like, come on. It's ridiculous. My wife told me, like, when I was starting my YouTube channel, like years ago. My wife was like, now Luke, you know that if you start doing that, that there are going to be lots of people that are going to like, you know, criticize and be negative and stuff. And you need to be prepared for that. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. And that's what you do. You have to steel yourself against that crap. And you just be like, you know what? Some people are going to hate you and they're just going to not like you. And then you live with it. You deal with it. You ignore them. But then there are other people who they do like you and you're helping them and they appreciate that and you're cool and you jive and that's cool. You think about that. You don't think about the critics, you know? And there's a cool quote, and I don't know who this quote is from. But there's a quote out there that basically says, they don't make monuments for critics. And that is an amazing quote. They don't make monuments for critics. So something good to think about. All right, let's do this. I have a PC that just doesn't care about possible hazards. Well, then he's screwed, because you're gonna slam him with some hazards, aren't you? How do I punish him for? Don't punish him! You don't punish PCs. You don't punish players. That is not your job. We're not punishing. There are consequences. There are consequences. And you might be like, well, Luke, what's the difference? There's no difference. Yes, there is. There's a difference in mentality. It is the difference between a dungeon master who is out to get their players and to punish their players, and a dungeon master who is there to run the game in an unbiased way and have there be consequences for foolish actions. There's a huge difference between me having a vendetta and being upset that a player's not being careful and looking to punish them, and me running a fair and unbiased game where there are consequences for your actions. And if you are careless, bad things might happen. And if you're not careless, then things will go better for you. Now, it is a mindset difference, in my opinion, but it's a very important, distinctive one that is important for dungeon masters to grasp. So we don't punish characters. We don't punish players. We never do that. That is not our goal. That is not our aim. We don't want that. It is not about punishment. The game is not about punishing and getting even. It is about collectively having fun and enjoying ourselves. Let me finish the question now. Sorry. You found the rant button and you were like, poke, 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 poke. It's like, Luke, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry. All right. How do I establish consequences for his reckless actions without just killing him? Do I kill him or no? You never kill someone intentionally. As a dungeon master, you never intentionally kill a character. That is not your job. Now, you play bad guys, you role play bad guys who do want to win, and many of them do want to kill the characters. So when you are role playing a bad guy, they might have the goal of killing the character. And in that case, you do your absolute best role playing that bad guy with their abilities and their hit points and their attack and all that kind of stuff to kill the characters. That is your goal. You are role playing them. That is your job right there. But you as the dungeon master are not trying to kill the characters. You are running the game. You're role playing the bad guys who want to kill the characters. There's a huge, massive difference. When I role play bad guys that are trying to kill the characters, I, the dungeon master, don't want the characters to die. I want them to win, but I'm also going to play my bad guys properly, and they're going to try to kill the characters even if I don't want them to. There is a big difference. It's a mental mindset thing. The distinction and the difference might be nebulous, perhaps, but it is an important one, because it is the difference between a fair dungeon master who runs challenging games and a dungeon master who runs DM versus player games and is out to get the players, and the players a lot of times loathe dungeon masters like those. So there's a huge difference there that makes for what could be an amazing game and what could be a miserable game. Literally, if they ignore hazards, you literally just have the hazards happen. There's nothing you need to do. Like literally, if there's a trap and they ignore the trap, they suffer the consequences of having stepped in the trap. Like, you don't need to do anything else. They ignore the hazard. The consequences of that hazard happen to them. The solution is baked into the game. You as the dungeon master need do nothing more. I think it's as simple as that. And if your hazards don't have consequences baked into the game, they should. You don't walk into lava with no consequences. You don't jump off a cliff with no consequences. You don't walk through spike traps with no consequences. You need to have those consequences mechanically created and part of the game, obviously. And then the solution and the problem solves itself. Peak D&D says it creates an antagonistic relationship between the DM and the players. Yes, you don't want that. You don't want that. The Dungeon Master and the players, you want to have a good, positive relationship. It should be a friendship. Ultimately, eventually, maybe, if you play long enough together, you should become friends if you're not friends already. And you shouldn't have that antagonistic relationship. It should be a positive, mutually beneficial, caring relationship where you're all playing the game together cooperatively and you're having fun. And nobody's out to get anybody else. Not players and Dungeon Master. It's all happy, big happy family. All right. Anna says, how do I give my players a challenge? I'm running them through Lost Mines of Phandelver and they beat Venom Fang in less than 2 rounds. So there's nothing wrong with characters beating something quickly. Don't worry about that. It's okay. Now, I have not read nor played that particular adventure. I know it's a low-level adventure, levels 1 to 3 perhaps. And then Venom Fang sounds probably like a spider or something, I guess. I don't know. So it sounds like the thing too to remember, Anna, when you're running low-level adventures is that things are very swingy. Very, very swingy. I believe in that adventure there are some goblins they run into, like 2 or 3 goblins. Now, at first level, you might get good initiative and kill those goblins like that. You might get bad initiative and the goblins could kill a couple of your characters before you even get a chance to do anything. At low levels, the game is super swingy because of hit points being so low. So in that particular instance, even though they killed Venom Fang in 2 rounds, in a different iteration, Venom Fang might TPK the entire group. So things are swingy, so keep that in mind. But also be aware too that it's okay to have easy fights. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. And if you notice a pattern though, where your players are constantly beating the snot out of everything, well then they're just really good at combat, tactically, or they have really powerful characters. Now, the chances are good they have really powerful characters because let me tell you something. The new modules that come out, I should say the new character options such as Tasha's and Xanathars are all very, very powerful. They are pushing the power creep more and more in the game to encourage players to want to buy those resources. So they're pushing power creep. And so if your players are using things from Tasha's and stuff, they're going to be more powerful than if they only use things from the player's handbook, which means that an adventure like Phandelver, which was made years ago, is going to be too easy for them almost assuredly. You see, there is a reason that, in my opinion, that new modules such as Icewind Dale are very, very challenging by the math. Because the designers of D&D know that they're slowly breaking the game and they're pushing the power creep on character options. And so that means that they need to make the modules more and more deadly as well and more challenging. So they understand this, I feel, when they're designing these new modules. And so an older adventure like Phandelver is behind the curve and could very well be too easy. So pay attention, see how they're doing. If they're repeatedly just obliterating things, then you know you need to increase the difficulty, the challenge of things. Now, for a module, you could just add an extra monster or 2. That is a possibility. Be careful with that. What you might do too is just let them do a little bit more damage. The monster might get an extra attack or something, perhaps. Be careful with giving more hit points because that just makes combats longer, which kind of could be a problem already in many games. And it just it doesn't necessarily make things more interesting and fun. It just makes things take longer. So my preference is always to increase damage output over hit points, which means that monsters might get an extra attack each round or every other round or something. Or maybe they have a once a day use of extra attack, kind of like an action surge for a fighter. But think of ways, if your players are constantly beating the snot out of the module, think of ways you can just, as you observe that pattern, bump the monsters up a little bit, make it a little bit more challenging until you get to the point where you feel that, yeah, now they're getting challenged every so often. But remember too, it's okay to have easy fights and then hard fights. You do want that too. Not everything should be super challenging. I need a name. Have you ever tried to give your boss monsters multiple phases? Like bosses from video games. How did it turn out? Yes, I did do that. I've done that a few times. I did it with like a giant ink hag once. He had different phases. He had his first like iteration or his first phase, and once the hit points on that were depleted, he changed, and then they had to deplete the hit points on that. I think it worked well because each iteration of the monster, or each phase of the monster was distinct and offered its own unique challenges. And so I think it worked fairly well. I wouldn't do it a whole lot. I would save it for special circumstances. Like if you have a phase monster in every adventure, especially if it's like multiple times in an adventure, that could get very old. But if you have a themed adventure where many of the monsters are like that, that could be a thing. But I would reserve it for bosses and every so often for a boss, maybe not even every adventure. But I think it could work really well. All right. How do you rule druids in metal? Why can't they or don't they use metal? I don't care about metal on druids. That's a 2nd edition or 3.5 rule. I use the 5th edition rules, which I don't think say anything about metal. They just literally tell you the types of weapons you can use and that you're restricted to certain armor types or something. So I literally just use the rules as written, whatever they are in 5th edition for druids. And I don't know if they even say anything about metal anymore. I'm not totally sure. I do know that's for sure an older edition thing. Do you like tracking time like an in-game calendar? I do it. Yes, I think it's beneficial. It helps keep the feeling of it being a real world when you know that the days are passing, the calendar is progressing, time during the day is progressing as well. So I keep track of time. I keep track of the calendar days in all of my games. And I'll update. I have a little board that I'll update every so often so my players can literally see the time passing in the day. I definitely do that. I think it helps reinforce verisimilitude and it helps them to feel like they're in an actual, real, living, breathing world. So I definitely do that. Thank you, Anna, for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Mark, thank you for the super chat, dude. Mark says, I'm currently planning a campaign for only 2 players. Do you maybe have some advice about possible pitfalls, especially when planning encounters? It's a low-level campaign. So I have an entire video on my YouTube channel that talks specifically about planning adventures, campaigns, and stuff like that for small parties, for small groups. I think it's something like how to run D&D for small groups. So go to my YouTube channel and look for that video. It's going to give you lots of information. I will obviously give you a little bit right now instead of just, passing you off to a video. The biggest thing I can say is action economy. That is something to focus on for small groups. They don't have a lot of action economy, which means that if the monsters have action economy, they could get in trouble fast. By action economy, I mean the number of things you can do. If you want to boil it down to a simple calculation, count the number of times somebody can attack. Your players at low levels can attack once per round. So if you got 2 players, they get to attack twice per round. If you pit them against 5 goblins, a goblin gets to attack once per round. So you can say the goblins have an action economy of 5 and your party has an action economy of 2. Well, that's very lopsided. Things could go sour very fast. Not necessarily, but they could. So it's probably better to consider having monsters with maybe fewer action economy, maybe 3 versus 2 or 2 versus 2 or something like that. And then you have there's a less chance of it being very swingy and a less chance of things going south very, very fast when you didn't think they would, because the challenge rating system would lead you to believe otherwise. So I would recommend keeping encounters to maybe 2 or 3 monsters and paying attention to action economy. I think that's going to go a long ways. Whenever you have lots of enemies, things can go south very fast unless they have access to things like Fireball. They can wipe out a lot of the enemies fast. And at low levels, they probably don't. Goliath Cleric, thank you for the question, dude. Thank you for becoming a member. They say, how much easier do you want it to be for a character to die once the next evolution of D&D is released? Well, you see, I love the question. The question has the baked-in assumption that they're going to make it easier for characters to die when the next evolution, which right now is being called 5.5, but it might be a 6th edition, who knows? They're saying it's backward compatible, which lends people to think that it's probably 5.5, but historically they've said backwards compatible before, and it hasn't always really been backwards compatible, so it might not be. But anyway, folks are generally thinking it's 5.5, which is the next evolution of D&D. And in that question is the baked-in assumption that they're going to make it easier for characters to die, and I don't think they're going to. We have had a trend toward it being harder and harder for characters to die for a long time now, a long time. And I think that trend's going to continue. I don't think D&D is going more and more mainstream, and you're getting a lot more casual players in it. Probably a lot of them are younger and coming up, and they're used to video games and stuff where you don't die and you just persist and you just get to reload and keep playing and stuff. And so, and there's also a greater emphasis on story and having your characters be able to live the entire campaign and experience the entire story from beginning to end of the entire campaign. And there's a huge trend toward that. And so we see trends both from a desire to not have your character die and also just to be able to have them throughout the entire story, which lends me to believe that if anything, it's going to become harder to die, not easier. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Now, I personally don't mind it a whole lot that it's hard to kill characters, because the honest truth is that it is kind of a pain in the butt for me when my players' characters die. They got to roll a new character up. We got to get them reintroduced into the game and stuff. You know, it is a little bit more of a burden on me. So I don't want their characters to die because it means more work, and and I know they probably enjoy their character. I think it's important to allow the opportunity for death for various reasons in gameplay. It makes the game better when death is a possibility. So I kind of have mixed feelings. I think that the game being challenging and having the opportunity to die in it is a very good thing. It makes the game more exciting. On the other hand, dying a lot also kind of makes it more complicated and kind of a pain in the butt for me too. So I have a mixed bag of feelings on that, so I'm kind of like, I'll live with it as it becomes easier and easier to not die. I'll just live with it. It just means I can throw crazier and more beefy monsters at you, and I don't have to worry about it. And because you guys are probably gonna win, so there are like pros and cons to it, and so it's not. I don't think it's a black and white issue necessarily from my point of view as a dungeon master. Oh, get gravy, All right, here's a great question. I'm a dungeon master in a game. There is this one player who's hogging all the fun. Yeah, we're already off to a great start here. and the best equipment, and threatens to kill the other party members if they don't do what he says. He is killing the game. What do I do? I'm gonna give you Luke's visceral gut response. Kick him out of your game. WTF. And I think the straw is that he's threatening to kill the other PCs if they don't do what he says. That is screwed up. And he's killing the game. Get him the heck out of there, man. Like, what the crap? Like, why would you tolerate a player like that in your game? He's gonna drive your good players away, and then you're gonna be stuck with the player that sucks. Now, obviously I know only what you wrote. I don't know the other side of the story. So my official advice is going to be to talk to the player, and you run through a very basic thing. This is what's going on. These are the actions. These are the things that you're doing. This is what those actions are resulting in. This is how it's making the other players feel. This is how it's making me feel. This is how it's affecting the game in a negative way. And this is what needs to happen. You need to change these behaviors. Stop doing this, this, and this. Start doing this, this, and this, so that all of these problems that I just mentioned get resolved. So that's it. You need to point out the problem behavior, explain the effect that it's having on the game and how it's making people feel and stuff. And then you need to be very clear about your expectations going forward about how they need to behave if they wish to remain part of that game. And from what you're saying right now in your comment, that needs to be a very, very serious conversation, and it needs to be made very clear that if you don't stop doing these things, you're out, because we're not going to tolerate this. Now, if you have a player that's actually acting the way that you say he's acting, my guess is that he's probably going to give you a big old fat bit of lip and probably cuss and swear at you and not be very receptive to what you have to say to him, but still give it a shot. But when he responds negatively, then you just say, okay, goodbye, you're out. And then he leaves. He's probably going to cuss you out. He's going to hate you. Fine, that's okay. Because guess what? I guarantee you one thing. 100% guarantee you this. Once he leaves, your next game session will be the best game session you have. Because everyone will be so relieved that player is gone. You will be relieved. Your other players will be relieved. It will be your best game session. 100% guarantee you, dude. Every time I have kicked a player out of my groups, the next game session has been amazing because we're all so happy that person's gone. So have the conversation, be prepared to kick them out, and you're probably going to have to kick them out. If they don't change their ways, then you need to get them out of there. That's the advice. Oh my gosh, that's what my character would do. Oh, I'll give a rant for about that's what my character would do. Yeah, if that's a great point. If your player responds back and says that's what my character would do, my character literally is the bullying sort who's going to try to coerce other people into doing his things his way. If that's what they say, you need to say, this is what you need to say. That sort of character is incompatible with the game that we are currently running. Incompatible. We are running a cooperative game of camaraderie where everybody can have fun and enjoy themselves, and they can have their own agency and they can choose what they want to do in the game. And if they say, well, my character, they're very greedy and they want power, and that's what my character would do. Well, we're not running that sort of game. We're running a fair game where everybody gets an equal share of the rewards and magic items. So again, your character that you created is incompatible with the game that we are playing, you need to make another character. Make a character that will share rewards. Make a character that will not coerce other characters to do what they want to do. You need to make that character and then roleplay that character. Do not accept the "that's what my character would do" reasoning, rationale, justification. Do not accept it. You do not accept it. It is incompatible with the game that we are playing. Make a new character. That is what happens. But I will tell you this. In my experience, in my opinion, my theory is that 90% of players who say, well, that's just what my character would do, are full of it. It's horse crap. That's what they would do as a player because they're sleazy jerkwads and they want to be little sleazy jerkwads, I guess. So they use this excuse of "that's what my character would do," but it's not what their character would do. It's what they would do because they're just bad people, bad players. Or you could say, well, Luke, that's really harsh. You know, you're just saying they're bad people. Well, okay, then let's be a little bit softer. They're not a good fit for your group. Maybe there's another group of players out there who are sleazy individuals who like to coerce each other and have very antagonistic games where they make each other feel bad and they go home and cry in a corner. Maybe there's a group out there who likes to play that way. Well, then they're not a good fit for your group. They need to go find that group. And it exists. I'm sure it exists somewhere. I recommend going to Reddit. You can find probably players that love making each other feel horrible. And then you're going to just have a great time. But not in your group, not in your game. So if they give you that excuse of "that's what my character would do," reject. No, it's not compatible with the game that we're running. Make a new character. And if their next new character is doing the same stuff, bye. I find a way to do a dig at Reddit like every stream, I feel. I always have a way to slip that in there, don't I? I think you can tell my feelings about certain things. Gnipsops. Thank you for the super chat, dude. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, have I regaled you yet with the announcement of Layers and Legends? Have you heard of the Layers and Legends Kickstarter? You probably have. But what you haven't heard, perhaps, is that it's launching April 5th. April 5th is the launch date. There's a link in the chat and down in the description of the video where you can follow the project and get notified when it launches. So basically, we're going to be publishing 2 hardcover books. One is called Layers and Legends, and the other is called Loot and Lore. And they're going to have tons of Game Master resources in them. You're going to have 5th edition adventures spanning at least levels 1 to 15, maybe more, depending on stretch goals. And you're going to have over 100 new monsters. You're going to have puzzles, traps, villains, NPCs, bunches of magic items. We have some spells and subclasses as well. Not a whole lot of spells and subclasses, but we have a few of them in there as well. And of course, we're going to have custom artwork that we're commissioning for both of the books. We're going to have fresh new layouts and designs on the interiors because the content is coming from the 2021 issues of Lair magazine. But we're going to give everything a fresh look, new custom artwork, and then we went back and revisited all the content as well to correct errata that we found in it. And also we had to rework several of the adventures as well, making them quite a bit better perhaps than before. So lots of cool stuff in there. That's going to be coming April 5th. There's a link down in the chat where you can follow that. It's going to be amazing. You should definitely follow the project, and not just because I'm creating it, but mostly because it's awesome. Yeah. I'm so sleazy. All right. Oh, and we're also raising money for the Capital Area Humane Society. All tips go to the Capital Area Humane Society. It's a humane society where I live, nearby, and they do lots of amazing stuff for dogs and cats. So we're trying to get to $500. We're getting close. I think we're about, what are we? A little under $100 away from our goal of 500. So all tips go right to them. Appreciate it. Thank you. We're doing a giveaway too. I'm getting through all my plugs. We're doing a D&D book giveaway. There's a link in the chat where you can sign up for the giveaway. You can win a D&D book, or you can get store credit on the DM Lair store as well. So it's totally free to enter the giveaway. You should do it. You don't want free books? If you do get a free book, if you want an actual book, I recommend Tome of Beasts stuff. That stuff is amazing. If you get store credit, I would recommend Into the Fae module. It's amazing too. Luke, are we going to have figurine painting streams again in the future? Perhaps not. I know some people enjoyed those, but I am in a position right now where I have so very little free time that sometimes it's painful and frustrating. So an additional live stream means less free time. So I can't commit to that. Oh no, don't reload that. Push the bad button. So if you enjoyed those, I apologize, but I'm not committing to that. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. Maybe if I go full time, I might slip those in from time to time, but I can't promise anything. When is a bad time to let a PC die? There's never a bad time to let a PC die. If they die, they die. If it just happens to be a poor time in the game, that's whatever. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna save them. You're not gonna intervene. You let it happen. New DM here. My friends are huge FPS gamers and they can't get creative. Their characters are always optimized in combat. Any tip to get them to be more flexible? You see, I think this is where we get into the idea of there being a correct way to play the game or a better way to play the game. And I don't think there is. I think there are lots of different ways to play the game. There are lots of people that they play D&D, and if they didn't tell you that it was D&D, you would have no idea that it's D&D because there's no combat. There's never any fighting of monsters or anything. It's all talky and maybe some exploration. If they didn't say D&D, you would have no idea that it's D&D. There are other people that love the dungeon crawls and just going through dungeons, and a lot of it's combat, and they love that crap. There's different ways to enjoy and experience the game, and there isn't a right way to do it. So if you have a bunch of players who love combat and they love min-maxing their characters and speccing them out, and that's the part of the game they enjoy, I don't think that I would try to change that a whole bunch. Let them have their fun. Let them enjoy the game the way they want to enjoy it. I would try to expose them to the other aspects of the game. I would want to make sure that there are ample opportunities for exploration and role-playing, not role-playing. I made my own faux pas. I did the thing that I hate. It's social interactions, not role-playing, folks. The whole game is role-playing. Somebody, Penguin Butt, you need to punish me now. I've been bad. I did my thing. I always rant about other people doing it, and I did it myself. Swing your wrench. Expose them to those things. Make sure that they're aware that those are different parts of the game they can experience. But don't force them. Don't force them. And don't try to change the way they're playing the game. Don't try to change how they have fun. Because I don't think that that is good. Yeah, let them play the game. Let them have fun their way and have their fun their own way to have fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. Pengu wrench incoming. Yes, I'm terrified. Oh, wait, I don't think she's here. Oh, she is there. Oh, jeez. Well, that's gonna happen. Any advice on how to talk to another player who seems too anxious to do something, anything, and ends up doing stupid stuff, not in character? I don't know. I think that's a challenge, right? Because you have somebody who's anxious, and if they're having difficulty deciding stuff to do, if you put pressure on them, it seems like that would cause them to be even more anxious, perhaps, because you're pressuring them to make a decision. Why don't you make a decision? Come on, make a decision. Come on, make a decision. And they're gonna be like, and they, you know, so that, I don't know that that's gonna help. I did have a crazy thought that might help them. Ask them, well, what are your options? This is just off top of my head. What are your options? Well, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, or we could do this. Okay, cool. And you're not sure which one you want to do? No, I just don't know. Okay, let's do this. Roll a d4. Let the dice decide. Okay, roll, it's a 3. Okay, you're doing that one. That's the one that you're gonna do. There we go, let's go. Let's go play the game. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. I would give that a shot. I don't really have a good answer for you because, yeah. Usually I have groups, and the groups will make a decision, and usually there's at least a couple people that are comfortable making that call. And then even if you have an indecisive person, they just go along with the group. But that could be a problem in combat, because then it's their time to make a decision and they don't know what to do. So that could be an issue. Matthew says, the party has spent a year getting to Strahd's castle in Ravenloft, only to fall off the roof. I'm assuming they died. How do you handle a TPK? Yeah, they did die. How do you handle a TPK without forcing them to replay the entire campaign? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You handle it the same way you handle it if we're a homebrew game. All right, you guys all died. And what a glorious, amazing way to die. You fell off a roof. I mean, seriously, that is amazing. Listen, 5 years from now, you guys are going to be sitting around the table playing D&D, and you're going to talk about that time when you played Curse of Strahd and you fell off a roof and you all died. Like right now, it sucks. But 5 years from now, that's going to be the best story that you have, hands down. You have Curse of Strahd, you're fighting vampires and undead, it's absolute horror, you're going insane, you can't get out of Ravenloft, it's just... And the way you die is by falling off a roof. I don't know how that happened, somebody cast grease or something, like here's a first level spell, woohoo, you die! That's awesome, that's awesome. But the way you handle that is the way you handle any TPK. The way that at least I handle any TPK. And that is simply, all right, you guys were level 5 and you died. Okay, cool. All of you make level 5 characters. All right, cool, level 5 characters. You enter the game world. Let me tell you what's currently going on. Well, not too long ago, just a week ago, there was another adventuring group that was in Barovia, and they did X, Y, and Z. And they were assaulting Castle Ravenloft when they all never returned. We don't know what happened to them, but they've done this, that, and the other. And this is where they left off. This is where things are hanging. Do you guys think you can help? Well, yeah, we probably can help. Okay, great. Boom, there you go. You could have an NPC in one of the villages. You know, it could be Erwin from Valaki, it might be Irina or Bismarck. One of the NPCs meets the group, gives them a recap of the other adventuring group and the things they had done and how they were trying to liberate Barovia from Strahd, but that they never came back from Castle Ravenloft. And then the new group picks right up where the old group left off, and they continue playing the module. And that's the way that I handle almost every TPK in my games. Every time there's a TPK, I'll say, okay, guys, you all died. If you want to keep playing this campaign, if you're all having fun playing the campaign, and I'm having fun, so I'm cool with it too, we can just pick up where we left off, make same new level party characters, and you pick right up, and we keep playing. If you guys aren't enjoying the campaign or you want to switch it up, we could do something new if you wanted to as well. I'd be okay with that. We have a discussion. Every single time, my groups have said, let's continue where we left off. Let's make new characters at the same level and keep on playing. And then we just keep on playing. So that's how I handle it. It's not hard. It's pretty easy. And you definitely don't want them to start at level 1 or 3 again and replay all of Ravenloft. That would be probably miserable. Now, right about now, one of the game designers for Ravenloft for Curse of Strahd is on the stream right now, and he's like, Luke, you're making me angry right now because don't you know that Curse of Strahd has unlimited replayability? And why, might you ask? Because the locations of the 3 artifacts are random and determined by the cards. The place where you can find Strahd is random and determined by the cards. And the NPC who's going to help you is random and determined by the cards. Because we have introduced that game mechanic into Curse of Strahd, it has unlimited replayability. And so I do apologize, dear game designer who's in chat, who's freaking out right now because we are not recognizing the unlimited replayability of Curse of Strahd. Your marketing attempts to brainwash us into thinking that have failed because we recognize the truth. It's still the same module. We're sorry. It doesn't have unlimited replayability, despite what your marketing says. Got a bonus rant. Completely unrelated to the question. I love it when marketers try to take a thing that's a cool mechanic, which I didn't use. I determined, if my Curse of Strahd players are here, I apologize. I'm giving you spoilers. I determined where everything was going to be, because having an intelligent person, quasi-intelligent, make meaningful decisions in the game and curate the game experience so that the magic items can be found in interesting and fun locations instead of lying in a ditch is a much better way to design a game than to have them things be scattered about the world randomly. So I decided where they were going to be. So, interesting game mechanic? Yeah. Did I use it? No, because I think that's silly. Why would I let dice decide where important game elements are going to be determined in the world? No, I'm going to use my brain, and I'm going to think about the best places to put those, in my opinion, that my players are going to find them that make sense and are cool game experience for them. So I determined where those items were going to be. I thought that was a better way to do it than having it be determined randomly. And from my players' vantage point, from their point of view, they have no way of knowing. It's the wizard behind the curtain as far as they're concerned. They have no stinking way of knowing. It's all the same. It's smoke and mirrors. But somebody felt they were clever with that game mechanic. And I don't want to steal all their thunder. Oh, coffee alert. Well, thank you for the coffee alert. I'm gonna fill it up in just a little bit. Woo, it's getting low. It's actually tea tonight. By the way, it's tea. I'm drinking tea tonight. Penguin butt. Mr. Goats, hello. My cats keep shedding everywhere lately. Do they naturally do that during springtime, or is there something wrong? Yeah, they absolutely do that. Like, animals in general, in winter, they get, maybe not all animals, but I know cats do this. You know, they probably get a little bit thicker coats and stuff. I think dogs probably do it as well. But then when spring starts to come, they start to shed some of that because it's going to get warmer out and they don't need it. So that's a thing that happens. You can get special combs and brushes for them to comb it out if you want to make sure that it doesn't get all over your house. So you can do that too. Or you can just vacuum more often. Or you could do nothing and just have cat hair all over the place. That's kind of what I do. I'm a filthy slob. What can I say? Gabriel says, I am one of those that simply can't replay a campaign or play it if I already GM it. Any advice? Yeah, don't replay it or repeat it if you've already GM'd it. Just don't. That's what you do. I think that's the only advice that I have. Play something you haven't played before. I'm sorry if that's unsatisfying. I don't have any mind-bending advice right there. I'm a pretty ordinary person. How do you run combat? I use the rules in the book. I feel like that was a bad answer, but that's literally my answer. I use the rules in the book to run combat. If there's some subtle nature of that I'm missing, then... With something aligned in the Thatco video, do you feel that a lot of games now are having shifts in lore to reflect modern necessities rather than established and loved lore? Well, of course they are. Absolutely. They're absolutely shifting those things. They have to. They have to, because established lore ignores modern sensibilities. And established lore can touch on topics that people these days might not feel comfortable about, or they don't agree with, because their belief systems have changed and have shifted. And so they will want those, they will be offended by those things, and they won't agree with them, and they think they're wrong, and so they will not react kindly toward the established lore. And so game designers will change that lore because they don't want their customer base to freak out and be angry at them, and they don't want to offend them, you know. In a way, it is a sensible and logical and reasonable thing to do. You know, if you have things established in lore that are not good, then you might want to change them. But there's a line somewhere in there, you know, because there are people that are offended by everything, and there are people that are looking to be offended. So if you try to change things to satisfy everybody, you got a really tall order on your hand. It's probably not going to happen. So there needs to be a balance there. You know, obviously some things you shouldn't leave in there if they're actually really bad. You should change them, right? But then there are some things that probably aren't bad that people just think are, or misinterpret, or just get all like crazy about, that you probably don't need to change. But, you know, who makes that decision? It's hard. There's a lot of nebularity there, and vagueness and gray area. So how do you make that decision, and how do you make that change? You know, and it's all, the thing is it all just shifts with society's current, you know, I don't want to say whims, but your current belief system, you know, which changes over time. You know, like right now, as a society, many people believe certain things. I guarantee you 100 years from now, people are going to look back on the things that we believe right now, and they're going to think that we're insane. I don't know what those things are. It could be anything, right? But that's what's going to happen. Guaranteed. 100 years from now, they're going to say, these people believe X, Y, and Z. They're horrible, horrible people. I can't believe they believe those things. Horrible, horrible. I guarantee you they're going to look on that. But we don't view ourselves that way, because from our point of view, right, it's reasonable and sensible to believe X, Y, and Z. But it's all point of view. It's all perspective, right? So right now we're redesigning things in the game and lore based upon our current belief systems and our current perspectives, so that it aligns with those things, and we feel that it's acceptable. 100 years from now, they're going to look back. They're going to be on like D&D 12th edition, and they're going to look back and they're going to say, can you believe the things they published in 6th edition? Wow, those people were really bad people. I'm so glad that we don't live back then, because those people were bad. I guarantee you that's the way it's going to be, because people's belief systems and their points of view and their sense of like morality and worldviews and stuff is going to shift. And so that's what's going to happen. Guarantee you, it's all perspective at any given point in time. So I don't know, we're probably getting pretty deep off into the weeds on that question. I don't remember what the question was, but I talked about a thing. Oh, woo! Nate Cert, thank you for the $71.67 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. Nate says, for the doggies and kitties. Oh, and you superset chatted it. The tips. If you want to donate to the National or to the Humane Society, you want to tip. You want to do tips. That's the way to do that. We'll see if we can fix that somehow, but sorry, dude. Tips go to the Humane Society. Super chats, 40% of your super chat goes to YouTube, and then the other 60% goes to Luke. So we'll see if we can fix that somehow. But you want to tip. If you want to give to the Humane Society, do the tipping. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. There are links down in the chat for that. Sorry. But appreciate your generosity, dude. Draxus, thank you for the $5 tip. I appreciate that. We're getting very close to our goal for the Humane Society. And Gnagops, thank you for the super chat. I can't say your name. I'm sorry. Yes, YouTube takes 40%. 40%. YouTube's got money. Yeah, they take 40%. It's better than Twitch. Twitch takes 50%. Guess how much Patreon takes? Patreon takes 6%. Pretty sure it's like 6%. So this is why I always encourage people that if you want to support all of the work that I do, the free content, all of this stuff, the single best way to support the channel and everything, if you feel like you're getting quality content, if you feel like you're getting help in your games and stuff, then the single best way to support the channel is through my Patreon, which there should be a link down in the chat to it. And you get Lair magazine, and you get lots of other really cool, you get tons of cool perks for being a DM Lair patron as well. But if you want to support the channel, Patreon is the way to do it, because they take the least amount of money, and the most amount of your money that you give to me is going to go toward helping me do what I do, to help people run their games and run better games and have less prep time and stuff like that. YouTube takes 40%. When I was streaming on Twitch, they took 50%, you know, and so yeah. There's better way. If you want your money to go to me, like if that's what you want, then Patreon's definitely the way to go. If you want to make YouTube richer, then super chats, go to YouTube, you know, and stuff. So yeah, this is just the way it is. So you just decide where you want your money to go most. All right, I think we're gonna do our cat trip now. Yes, it is time to do a cat trip. The cat trip is where I give my cats cat crack, also known as catnip. But before that, I'm going to show you a sleazy plug for my Kickstarter, Lairs and Legends, that is going to be launching on April 5th. There's a link down in the chat where you can follow the project and get notified when it launches. It is very, very cool, and I'm super excited. This content is brought to you by the Lairs and Legends Kickstarter, coming in early 2022. Are you a dungeon master looking to reduce your prep time but still run awesome games for your players? Would you like professional pre-made 5th edition adventures, maps, traps, puzzles, magic items, and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? The Lairs and Legends Kickstarter will create 2 gorgeous hardcover books for dungeon masters containing all of this and more. The first book, Lairs and Legends, will deliver 25 5th edition compatible adventures spanning levels 1 to 15 and over 100 new terrifying monsters to pit against your players. The second book, Loot and Lore, will deliver 50 magic items, 25 puzzles, 40 traps, 10 factions, 30 standalone encounters with maps, 30 villains, 30 NPCs, 70 random tables, 30 adventure ideas, 20 spells, and 4 subclasses. And through the beauty of Kickstarter and stretch goals, we'll be able to commission beautiful artwork for both books and add even more content. Furthermore, in addition to the hardcovers, you can also get both books in PDF format and a digital map pack containing all the maps from both books. And if you'd like to pick up a hardcover copy of our last Kickstarter, Into the Fae, it will be available as an add-on to Lairs and Legends. Click the link below to join the Lairs and Legends email list and get Okay, cool. I saw there was a cool comment. Zack up above was like, definitely go on Patreon. You get the highest quality content there, and it helps make sure my cats keep eating their hearts out. I think Zack's talking about his cats eating their heart out. Probably because Zack he's on my team and he helps work on a lot of the content for Lair magazine. He writes a lot of the stuff in it. He's one of our editors, and he does project management as well. And so he does a lot of work on Lair magazine. And so, which means that I pay him a lot of money to do all of that work. So when you're supporting my Patreon, that's more money into the DM Lair coffer, which means that I can keep paying Zack, which means his cats keep eating their hearts out. I think that's what Zack was trying to say. which I think is hilarious. All right, cool. Oh, we're doing the cat trip. Cat trip. Let's go to the coffee cam. We have here assembled the happy carrot and this. Used to be a cat toy of some sort. It has seen better days, and you can see the limbs. It used to have 3 or 4 limbs, and the innards have been ripped out. So, yep, I can't find the banana. We have a banana too, and I don't know where it is. So we're gonna get these guys all hopped up with catnip, and we're gonna go to the cat cam now. Yes, Squeaky. Squeaky loves catnip time. There you go, big boy. And then get this guy, little guy. All right, these guys are gonna go nuts. All right, watch the kitties. I will be back. This guy's gone off camera. Hey, you can't go off camera. You're a YouTube kitty. Get over there. Yes, when Squeaky rolls over, it's amazing. His white belly. The banana got lost. Yeah, the banana's underneath something in the basement, almost assuredly. I just need to look for it a little more concertedly. I've looked for it like passingly and not found it. He's like bunny kicking the carrot. Look at him, he's trying to take the carrot. Squeaky, you have your own toy. Squeaky is such a hog. Look at him. He has like main character syndrome. What a jerk. All right, let's get back to it. Any advice to first-time D&D module writers? Yeah, I got some advice. So, the very first thing that I'm going to tell you if you're writing D&D modules, now I don't know if you're writing an entire module like levels 1 to 15 or something. If you've never done that before, that is a massive, huge, crazy undertaking. My recommendation to you is baby steps. Don't write a module your first bang. Don't do that. that is going to be a very challenging, possibly miserable experience for you. My suggestion for you would be to publish an adventure first. Just an adventure, one adventure, that's it. One adventure. Drive-through RPG, maybe DM's Guild if you want to put it on there, but drive-through RPG, one adventure, that's it. Baby steps. Get an adventure out there, get a second adventure out there, get a third, get a fourth, get a fifth. Start writing the adventures. Learn how to make the maps, digital maps, cartography and stuff, or find somebody that you can pay to make it for you if that's not your thing. You know, start small, start making modules, or start even smaller, not modules, start making adventures, or start even smaller, because adventures are one of the most challenging things to write. We commission our content for Lair magazine, and we have freelancers that write different things. They write the adventures, they write magic items, they write monsters, they write NPCs, villains. And of all the things that we commission, the single most difficult thing for any of our writers to write is adventures. Not all of our freelancers can write adventures. They can't. We have a select few freelancers that can actually write adventures, and my editors don't have to like kill themselves rewriting a lot of it. So it takes a lot of skill and probably experience and stuff, running the game, being a dungeon master probably, and probably writing, and knowing how to design the adventures and game design. Basically, it takes a lot of skill to be able to write an adventure, and not many of there's a handful of our freelancers that can actually write adventures. The majority of them don't write adventures. They write resources such as monsters or puzzles or traps or NPCs or magic items, which are way easier to write, way easier. Probably monster stat blocks are the second most challenging thing for folks to write, in my opinion. So my piece of advice to you is don't start off the bat writing a D&D module. Start off writing an adventure or smaller little resources like magic items. Publish them out on Drive-Thru RPG, maybe DM's Guild. You know, get some experience. Your first stuff you publish is going to be horrible. It's going to be abysmal. It's going to suck. It will, I guarantee you. And so what you do is you get stuff out there and you try to incrementally get better, improve upon it each time, you know, but you got to get stuff out there. You got to get it out there. You don't have an audience. You don't have a following. It's okay to have crap out there because not a whole lot of people are going to buy it. What you are getting is experience. You're getting the experience of doing it and doing it many times and getting better at the skill and trying to get better at the skill and learn those skills. And you're also just, you're I don't know how to explain it. By publishing the things and just getting it out there, you're getting yourself into the practice of just like producing, getting stuff out there. Because it is an error to try to have something perfect before you publish it. Like to sit there for a half a year, really working hard on one adventure to make sure it's perfect and as good as you can do it, and then you publish it. That's a mistake in my opinion. I would say spend a month on your first adventure or whatever it happens to be and publish it. Get it out there, get it into the wild. Maybe some people will buy it. Maybe they'll give you feedback. They might leave comments on Drive-Thru RPG. And guess what? You're gonna learn a lot. If people leave comments and they're negative comments, that's a gold mine. That is a gold mine. Read those comments. Oh, your maps suck. Your maps aren't good enough to be used on virtual tabletops. They don't work for X, Y, and Z reasons. Great. Perfect. I can make them better next time. I will take that negative feedback and I will see how I can make my stuff better. I love that. I get negative comments on some of the stuff that I publish, and it is awesome because it allows me to see blind spots, things that I didn't consider, that I wasn't aware of. Perhaps I thought the maps, like right now, we are literally, for Into the Fae, my last Kickstarter, we are literally commissioning all new maps that are going to be better for use on digital tabletop or virtual tabletops like Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. Literally, we just getting a contract going right now with a cartographer. So we are recommissioning all of the maps. Now, the original maps are beautiful. They're absolutely wonderful pieces of art. But what they aren't is super good for virtual tabletops. They look great in the published module, but when you try to put them into Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, they don't work the best all the time. And so what we're doing is we're recommissioning maps that are better for virtual tabletops. So the book still looks beautiful and has wonderful artistic maps, but we're also going to give Dungeon Masters maps that are better for virtual tabletops. And I'm doing this on my own dime. I'm just getting them commissioned so that we can have better maps for people. And if you already have, by the way, if you already have Into the Fae, we're going to make sure, like if you were a Kickstarter backer or you bought it on the DM Lair store, we're going to make sure you have access to the newer maps too. So don't worry, we're going to make sure you get the new maps when they come out. But my point is this, I was getting not even a whole lot, but I got a few negative comments about the maps, and I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, those could be better. I totally get that. I bet there are other people that are struggling with those maps too. Okay, cool. Let's invest some money and get some better maps. But my point is this. My point is that you learn from publishing stuff that isn't that great, and you can get better, and people's negative comments can help you get better. Don't turn the comments off. You can't actually on Drive-Thru-RPG, but turning comments off is stupid. Those are gold mines. If you're getting negative comments, great. Read them. Maybe you can learn something. Maybe you can get better. So start small, start publishing. Don't try to be perfect, and learn and get better. That's my advice for you. Are any of your cats your favorite, or do you love them all equally? I love them all equally, of course. Squeaky is adorable. Isn't that right, Squeaky? Little guy's coming over. Little guy heard me. Look at him. He's coming right at me. Little guy. He heard me. I love little guy too. He likes to roll. I'll give you, here you go. Here's little guy. Little guy. Yeah, I love all my cats. Any advice for starting a campaign at high levels? I want to try it out. Any ideas for how to start such a campaign? You start it the exact same way you start any other campaign. Players create their characters, they enter the game world, you have some sort of way for them to be introduced or meet each other. Maybe they're already an existing party and stuff, and then there's an NPC quest giver that gives them their first quest, or maybe they go into a tavern and they hear rumors that give them 3 possible quests they could go on. There's no special way to start a high level game that's any different from a low level game. It's only limited by your creativity and your imagination. So if you want a really cool, super special way to start a high level game, then it's up to you to create that really cool, super special way to create that game. But there's nothing that says that it has to be any different than a low level game. They're ostensibly the exact same thing. I got cat hair in my mouth, which is shocking to me. I don't know why, with only 7 cats, that I would have cat hair floating around and land in my mouth. What do you think of this home rule in my games? Resurrecting spells don't exist in my world except reincarnation. Oh, that's awesome. That's my gut reaction. Reincarnation is so awesome. I love it. I love it. It just gives you a fun little surprise. Like you don't know what you're gonna be. It's just a beautiful role-playing moment. We had a character once, I think it was a half-elf, and he died, and all the party had was reincarnation. So he was reincarnated as a turtle, and it was the best thing ever. This was in my Sword Coast Guard campaign, which you can watch on my second YouTube channel and stuff. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Now, many players don't like the idea of reincarnation because they have specially built their characters to be just the way they want them to be. And their race choice is important because one of 2 reasons: they just like that species or race, or it gives them the proper ability modifiers to make their build just the way they want it to be. And if they lose their +2 to charisma, well, that kind of ruins their sorcerer. And so they don't want to get reincarnated. So most of the reasons against reincarnation have to do with either min-maxing or just that they feel attached to their character the exact way that they're attached to it. So I don't know, but I love reincarnation. I love it. So I don't personally have any problem with your homebrew rule, but I know there are some players who probably would. Oh, I missed a super chat? How do you DM two armies clashing? My PCs just snuck past an army to get to the boss. Yeah. Thinking of having the other faction army arrive for diversion role-playing. Not sure how to get them out otherwise. Well, first of all, there's two things here. First, it's not your job to get them out. Let that sink in. It's not your job to get them out. They're the ones that decided to sneak by an army. They're the ones that decided to leave a bunch of enemies behind them. They made that decision. They made that bed. They sleep in it. They made a decision that could have very negative consequences if they're not able to stealthily get out. Now they have to live with it. That was their decision, not yours. You allowed the possibility. I'm assuming they made some dice rolls and stuff and were stealthy and able to get by the army. Great, wonderful. But they have an army behind them. Things could go very bad very fast. Because guess what? When they fight that boss, is that going to be a quiet fight? Is that boss not going to call for reinforcements? Are parts of that army not going to hear that fight and come to see what's going on? Are they not going to see intruders and then sound the alarm and alert the whole camp? You see, there's so many things there that could possibly happen and are likely to happen. And again, it is not your job to solve that problem. Not your job. That is your player's job. They made the decision to sneak past the army to fight the boss. They wanted to bypass part of the dungeon, which is fair. They have that freedom. We're not running a railroad. We're not making them fight everything. That's fair. We don't want to force them to fight everything first before they get to the boss. Giving them the freedom to bypass things if they want to get to that boss is great. But now they're in a pickle, aren't they? And that is where agency lands you. Sometimes you make these choices that might not be the best or might have consequences, but now you got to live with it. And you have to figure it out. Not the dungeon master. You don't have to rescue them. And I would say you should not rescue them. You would be best advised to not rescue them and let happen what happens. Your players should live or die based upon their decisions, their tactics, the luck of the dice, etc., not based upon you intervening to save their bacon because they made a bad decision. And that's agency. That's allowing them the freedom to do those things, which is great. But sometimes things get nasty and things could have bad consequences. So my suggestion to you is to not save them. Don't try to save them at all, ever. Let them solve that problem on their own. Maybe they don't solve it. Maybe they TPK. Maybe they die. Maybe the whole army gets alerted because of a loud battle with the boss who's calling for reinforcements, and the army descends upon them and they get squashed and they all die. It happens. It happens. That's life. They made a risky decision and things didn't turn out. Don't save their bacon. Don't save their bacon. I feel like that will ruin the game experience to a certain extent when they know that, oh, geez, yeah. And he just let us live because merciful DM. I would rather die. As a player in that situation, if we sneaked in and somehow the rest of the army got alerted and they came in, and assuming the dungeon master is running it fairly and there are checks made and stuff like that, and we just fail them and bad things happen, I would not want the dungeon master to pull back and save us. I would want them to stick it through. Things went south based on our decision and dice and stuff like that. Let it happen. Let us all die. That is a much more satisfying ending than knowing that our dungeon master saved us because they didn't want us to die. Ugh, that's so unsatisfying to me as a player. It's just, it just kind of ruins the game a little bit, because like, we should have died. Like, that's what should have happened, because, but you intervened and you saved us and now we're all alive. It's like, but we shouldn't be. Like, we should have died because we made a decision and things went south, and that's what should have happened. And now you literally just intervened and placed your, like, you know, deific hand down there and saved us all. So that's unsatisfying to me. So, not your job to save them. Not your job to save them. Now, the question about how to handle two armies clashing. It's a different answer. There are two ways you can handle armies fighting in a D&D game. One, you handle it narratively. You, the dungeon master, describe how those two armies are clashing, and you just decide what happens. That is probably the cleanest and easiest way to handle two armies clashing. You decide. It's up to you. You're in charge of the game world. You made the armies, you had them clash, you get to decide because you're running the game world. And that's perfectly fine. And that's the easiest and cleanest way for you to do it. Describe, narrate it, boom, you're done. The second way you could do it is you could go out there and you could buy entire books that have been written that give you ways to do mass combat in D&D. You can get an entire book to do mass combat for like one game session to decide how those two armies this is the fundamental issue I feel with mass combat expansions for Dungeons and Dragons. Like, unless your entire campaign is designed around the idea of there being large armies clashing, entire books of mass combat rules are pretty worthless. They bog the game down unnecessarily. Why, if most of your campaign has nothing to do with mass combat, but there's going to be this little tiny part of it that does, you're going to, all of you and your players are going to learn these rules and implement these rules just for a tiny bit of your campaign? That seems unnecessarily complex and boggy. Now, if there were a lightweight rule system out there for mass combat that were, say, I don't know, 5 pages long, that you could read and learn and implement, now that's a different story. But if you got like 200 to 300 pages of mass combat, the only way you want to use that is if your entire campaign involves mass combat. And then you probably want a nice rule set to go along with that. But the fact of the matter is that most D&D games don't involve mass combat. And if they do, it happens very rarely. And so I feel like the usefulness of those rule sets is extremely limited because it's a very niche use case, right? That almost never comes up. And if it does come up a lot, yeah, you might even not be playing D&D. You might just play a different game system that's actually built for mass combat, but I don't know. Just throwing out ideas there. So anyway, there you go. Answered your question, thank you. Yeah, if you had like a concise 1-page mass combat rules, that would be amazing. That's like all you need. But an entire book, an entire massive book for mass combat is like, I just don't. Most groups would never use that. You're just never going to use it. Convince your players that that's the game you want to play. Convince them to learn the rules and play it. You know what's going to happen? You're going to use it for like 2 game sessions. And you're going to be like, yeah, let's just go back to playing normal D&D. Because that's what we've always enjoyed. Squeaky. Mass combat Sounds like a slogger though. Yeah, it could be, for sure. It could be. It just depends on the game you all want to play, you know? Like, if you and your players want to play that game of mass combat, that's great. Get those rules and use those rules. The thing is that most players that want to play D&D probably don't want to play that game. They probably want to have a character that goes on adventures and stuff, because that's what D&D is. It's not really about mass combat. Like literally, the roots of D&D lie in people who used to play war games that involved mass combat. And then they were like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if instead of having mass combat between armies, we had like small adventuring parties where instead of controlling an army, you control a character. And then those characters go do stuff and go on adventures and go into dungeons and stuff. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, that would be cool. And so they took wargaming and they turned it into D&D basically, where instead of armies, you were controlling characters. Like that's the roots of D&D. That's where it came from. And that's how it kind of came to be what the original D&D was, you know? And so now when you say, oh, we need mass combat, it's like it's going the opposite direction, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just feel that it's interesting that you came from there and now let's go back to there a little bit. And there are edge cases and times when you might want it and stuff, but most players who play D&D want to play D&D, which is where you run a character, not where you run an army, which might be fun from time to time, but do you really want a 200-page book to learn the rules of, to run that combat from time to time? Probably not. You want something lightweight. You want something lightweight. That's exactly why narrative works better. Because because you just want it to happen and be done with. You don't need a rule system to decide what happens between two armies, especially two armies that your players aren't controlling. If you are literally having armies clash that your players are not controlling and are not involved with, you describe it narratively. Now, if your players are involved and they are on one of those sides of the armies and they are controlling some of the armies, then you probably want them to be able to control the way things go. And then you probably might want a lightweight rule system to help you navigate that little part of the campaign. Chad Braley, what's up, dude? How you doing? Welcome, man. New DM here, and decided to run Curse of Strahd as my first campaign, and didn't realize how much work goes into a sandbox type world. Woo! Yes! Yes! You hit the nail on the head, buddy. Any tips on cutting down on prep time? No. Prepping a sandbox game is hard. It is. A true sandbox game is where there's a world and there's lots of different things to do in that world, and the dungeon master plans those things in advance and has all of them ready to go. That's a sandbox. A sandbox is not randomly wandering around the world doing whatever you feel like and the dungeon master making things up on the fly. That is not a sandbox. That is just winging it. No planning or crazy light planning and then just winging it and making things up on the fly. Technically it's a sandbox, but the dungeon master that can run a game like that, where they make things up on the fly almost 100% and do almost no planning and no prep work ahead of time, and have it be a very fun experience for their players, those game masters are, one, extremely rare, and two, probably have decades of experience. Not saying they don't exist, but they are rare and they are experienced game masters that can run a sandbox like that and have it be a fun, satisfying experience for their players. Because there are probably lots of dungeon masters that try to run games like that where they make things up on the fly, but I'd be willing to bet a good amount of money that the majority of them aren't as fun as they could be if the dungeon masters actually took some time to prepare their games. I'd bet money on that. So back to your original thing. Yes, prepping a sandbox module like Curse of Strahd is a lot of work and it takes some time. So tips, the very first tip that I can give you, and this is what I do for my Curse of Strahd game that I'm running right now, is I give lots of plot hooks to my players. Ask my players. You can watch my Curse of Strahd games on my second YouTube channel, the DM Lair streams. We'll put a link in the chat to that for you. But basically, I give tons of plot hooks to my characters, and they're like, you can go do this, or this. And they're just like, dude, we have so many plot hooks. We have so many different things that we could do, you know, and they're always kind of joking about it because they get tons of plot hooks. But here's the thing. I don't prepare every single one of those and have them all ready to run at any given point of time. I am familiar with the adventure. I have read the entire module, but I don't have everything prepared for them. So if they randomly chose to go to one of these plot hooks, I might not be ready for that. And so what I asked them to do is, hey guys, let me know which one of these plot hooks you want to do next. That way I can prepare for it. And they oblige me and they tell me, we want to go to the orphanage next. That is where we want to go to the windmill, the orphanage. That is where we want to go. That is our next major thing we got to get done. Okay, cool. I will make sure that's ready. That doesn't stop me from putting more plot hooks in front of them. They just recently went into Valaki and found that there is a new ruler in Valaki, and now they have another problem to solve. Every time they go to Valaki, something bad is happening, and they have to fix the problem. So that's my advice to you. Ask your players what they want to do next when they have multiple plot hooks. The other thing too is that just because Curse of Strahd is a wide open world and they could technically go anywhere they want to go, that doesn't mean you have to give them all of those plot hooks. Within your comfort zone, you can limit the amount of plot hooks that you give them. If you're a new dungeon master just starting out, I would recommend only giving them a couple plot hooks. Give them a couple options of places they could go. Make your life easier, narrow things down. Once you feel more comfortable and you get into the swing of things, you could give them 8 plot hooks like I do. And then they're just like, wow, we don't know what to do next. Okay. And that's the other point too. When players have tons of options and tons of things they could do, that's not always a good thing. Sometimes that's a frustrating thing for players because they're not sure what to do next. They're not sure what the most important thing to do next is. And they also know that it's a game and that they are level 2, and they're not sure if at level 2 they can do all of these things. Maybe one of them is too hard and they shouldn't do it, but they're not sure which one. So there is comfort in restricting the options. There are benefits to restricting the options as well, especially if you have new players. You can just have 2 plot hooks, a couple things they could do instead of 8. So there's nothing wrong with limiting it and restricting it. I would definitely recommend that if you're a new dungeon master and if you have new players as well. So feel free to do that as well. Just because it's a sandbox doesn't mean that you have to give them all of the options. You could just stick to a couple plot hooks. So a couple pieces of advice should help you a little bit. That is a module that I recommend. Once you start running it, try to read through it also, the whole thing. You don't have to read through the whole module before you start running the game, but once you do start running the game, try to read through it because that's going to be beneficial for you. Even if you don't remember all the details, it's still, there's a little benefit there. Now, here's the thing. You know, when I started running Curse of Strahd, I hadn't read through the entire module, but I started running it. And then, you know, when you take certain breaks throughout the day, you just take the book with you and you get 5 minutes of reading done, 10 minutes of reading done. You have a few breaks throughout the day, several breaks throughout the week. The next thing you know, you've read that entire module over the course of a month or two. And it just takes care of itself. So there's another pro tip for you. Some of you are wondering what kind of breaks those are. All right, we are doing a D&D giveaway today, a D&D book giveaway. You can win a D&D book of your choice, or you can get store credit on the DM Lair store as well. So there should be a link down in the chat where you can sign up for the giveaway. It's a free D&D book, free store credit. You have like nothing to lose. It costs you nothing. So you sign up for the giveaway. It's pretty cool. We do a giveaway every live stream pretty much. So it's one of the things we do. Also, if you haven't heard, Layers and Legends, my next Kickstarter, will be launching April 5th. That is our date. There is a link in the chat as well where you can follow that project. Basically, we're going to be giving folks 2 amazing hardcover books. One's called Layers and Legends. The other is called Loot and Lore, and it has tons of Game Master resources for you. It has 5th edition compatible adventures for levels 1 to 15, and maybe more, depending on stretch goals. Over 100 monsters. We have traps, puzzles, NPCs, magic items, villains, lots of cool stuff we're packing into these books. It's going to be very, very beautiful. Custom art, fresh new layout. We're going to go through and we're taking content from Lair magazine 2021 issues. We've gone through, we've dealt with errata. We have redone several of the adventures. We have beautiful digital maps to go with them. It's going to be really, really cool. Really amazing. So follow the Kickstarter, get notified when it launches. Yeah. How good is Acquisitions Incorporated? It's a very good rule set. I like Acquisitions Incorporated games. I have an entire video on my YouTube channel. If you look for Acquisitions Incorporated on my channel, you're going to find a video that I talk about Acquisitions Incorporated games and how you can run them and why they're beneficial, why you might want to run them, and how they can benefit your games. So they're very, very cool. I will say though that out of the entire Acquisitions Incorporated book, there's probably about 20 pages that actually tells you how to run an Acq Inc. game. And then the rest of the book is basically like an introductory adventure for levels like 1 through 3 maybe or something. I don't know. I didn't read it. I didn't care. I really only needed like the first 20 pages. but you know, when you're in the book selling business, you can't just publish a little 20 pages of something. It doesn't make for a book, right? You can't just like, let's just take a look at this. This is interesting. Where is this thing? Okay. So, I mean, it's already a very small book. It's already super small. It's not very thick. It's 224 pages. And the actual Acq Inc. rule set, I'm actually going to see about how far it goes. Go into downtime. We go into these things. The actual Acq Inc. rule set is only about 45 pages long. So out of 225 pages, 45 of those have the actual rule set that you need to run an Acq Inc. game. And then we go into like backgrounds, additional player options, you know, that don't actually have anything to do with the rule set of the game. We're really just putting stuff in the book at this point. And then starting around page 80 is the introductory adventure, which might be cool. I don't know. I didn't read it. It's the majority of the book is the introductory adventure, which probably goes from like levels 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 or something. I'm not totally sure. But my point is that if you want to publish a rule set like this, if they were to just publish a book that's like 50 pages long, they can't justify this price. They can't justify a $50 price on this book. It's way less than that. And so you have to put more content in this to actually sell it for what you want to sell it for. You know, it's kind of how restaurants have prices per plate. They have prices per customer. Restaurants have goals where like they really want to earn a certain amount of money for every person that walks through the door. And so when you're publishing books, you have a similar thing. Like if you're going to go through the effort of publishing a book, you really want to be able to sell it for a certain amount. And so if you have a book that only has 50 pages, you can't charge $50 for it. People will freak out and be upset and probably not buy it. So you got to put more stuff in there. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff in here that you don't need to run the actual Acq Inc. rule set. If you can just get the first 46 pages or whatever, that's what you really need. So, but it is what it is. It's not necessarily a dig. It's just a recognition that certain factors are what they are. And you have to do what you have to do because it's a book publishing business. And you got to stay in business. $50 price tag is still a stretch for Acq Inc. Yeah, you could argue that. Yeah. Everybody's talking about how my tea is low. I don't have any more. I'm literally out. This is the last that I have. Shaz, thank you so much for the $25 tip. I really appreciate that. All tips go toward the Capital Area Humane Society. Our goal is $500. We are pretty close. That little green bar right there tells us that we are very, very close to reaching our goal. And also, if you kill this person right here, where is this? This person has their, I'm trying to get my finger to point at it. Right there. If all tips and super chats will slowly reduce this person's health. And if you kill them, if you deal the killing blow, you get your name up there on the screen. I can't read who's up there right now, but you could kill that person and get your name up there. And then you could have other people trying to kill you. It's a fun, amazing world. We're $53 away. Cool. If all you have is the player handbook and the Dungeon Master guide, what single D&D book would you say to get for a DM and a player? I mean, you have to have the monster manual. If you don't have the monster manual, then you can't really have monsters and encounters. So you have to get that. Assuming you have the player handbook, the Dungeon Master guide, and the monster manual, what other book, what one book would a Dungeon Master get? Gosh, that's a hard question. If you're running a module, obviously get the module. It might be, if you want to go with D&D core books from Wizards, it might be Xanathar's, because there are some good rules in there for you to use, like downtime and stuff. But even then, it's a little light. You might get, you know what? You might just go with like Tome of Beasts, or Tome of Beasts 2, or Creature Codex from Kobold Press, because those are very, very good monsters. The thing that I find myself always needing more of, that I can never have enough of, are different monsters. So you can't go wrong with more monsters. And the Kobold Press publications are spectacular. So you could go with those. Yeah, those are probably solid recommendations. Yeah, see, Volos and Mordenkainen's, you don't get monsters. I mean, you kind of get monsters. Look, half of Mordenkainen is just lore. And it's not even lore about monster species. It's lore about like halflings and elves and stuff. So half of Mordenkainen's doesn't even give you monsters. And then Volos, now at least in Volos, the first half of the book that's lore actually gives you monster lore, which I find very useful. I liked how they did it in Volos. I thought the lore in the beginning of Volos was very, very useful because it was talking about monsters. And then it gave you a bunch of stat blocks. However, Mordenkainen's was like lore about other species, not necessarily monstrous species. And that wasn't quite as helpful. Yes, there were devils and demons and Shadar Kai and Dwerger, and I think Gith Yankee and Gith Sarai. Okay, sure. There was a little bit of lore about monsters, but some of it was also not monstrous species. So, okay, it was less useful. Whereas Volos was like 100% lore about monstrous species. I can get on board with that. Tome of Beasts, though, bang for your buck, gives you a crap ton of monsters. And the beautiful thing about them is that their challenge rating is actually higher than what it says. So if you get a challenge rating 5 monster, it's actually probably more like a challenge rating 6, say, which is good because with the new character options coming out with like Tasha's and books like that, there's a power creep going on where player characters are getting more and more powerful, but the monsters kind of aren't. But if you use Tome of Beasts 2 and Creature Codex, then your monsters are more powerful, which helps combat the power creep that Wizards is building into the game through their new splat books. So that's another benefit of that. Hey, Kirby, thank you for the $25 tip, dude. I appreciate that. We are getting close to our $500 goal. Oh, did Kirby get his name up there? Look at that. Kirby got his name up there. Nice. I feel like his name is up there a lot. That's like his goal. He's like, I'm just gonna have my name at the top of the screen all the time. That's what I'm gonna do. What is it? $50 is a one-shot kill. If you do a $50 tip or a $50 super chat, you immediately one-shot kill whoever is up right there. The one shot, gone. How do you deal with players that are happy when things go their way, but completely argumentative, defensive when they don't? I have to almost coddle them. Don't coddle them. That's horse crap. Suck it up, Buttercup. That's probably what I don't know. I have had players that get a little upset when things don't go their way. Usually I do nothing. I let them calm down. It's natural to probably get upset when things don't go your way. Not everybody expresses it verbally or visibly, but most people get a little upset when things don't go your way. Not necessarily, but it's a natural reaction. So I think I usually, as long as it's not a crazy upset reaction, but if there's a little bit of frustration and you can tell they're a little upset about it and maybe a tiny bit this or that, usually I do nothing. Usually just let it pass. They'll calm down. Things will get better. It will pass, and we'll keep playing the game and we'll have fun. There is an erroneous thing that happens in the world, and management in corporations do this all the time. When there is a problem, when something bad happens, they feel like they have to do something. You have to do something. Like if a defect slips through, well, you got to do something. You have to implement something. There has to be some rule or governance or some sort of bureaucracy, some little step in the process, some little check that you implement so that that defect never happens again. You must do something. And this is how, in corporations especially, you get big bloated bureaucracies, because every time there's a negative thing that happens, they have to do something about it so that it never happens again. Like, you must implement something, and that's erroneous. Because if there's a negative thing that's happening, we should always first ask ourselves, what if I do nothing? What is the cost of doing nothing? Because maybe nothing is the answer. Maybe it'll just blow by and everything will be fine. Maybe you don't need to do anything. It's always worth considering. Now, it's not always the answer. Sometimes you do need to do something, because ignoring a bad problem isn't necessarily a good answer. That bad problem might just keep being a bad problem and your game could suffer from it. But always ask yourself, maybe I do nothing. Maybe the solution is to do nothing. And I think many companies and managers and management would be well served to think about that. What is the cost of doing nothing? Maybe not that bad. It's like this. It's like you're running a library and you have somebody who steals a book. Well, what's the cost of doing nothing? Well, a book gets stolen every couple years. Not that big of a deal, right? It's like $10. It's not that big of a deal. That's the cost of doing nothing. But what if you have somebody in charge of that library who says, no, we need to stop people from stealing books. All right, we are going to put little tiny, electronic devices on all of the books, and we're going to install a little gatekeeping system so that if there is a book that isn't properly checked out, then it's going to set the alarm system off. And then we're going to catch people. Okay, that's great. So how much did that system cost you? $1,000? And then you got to keep adding these electronic tags to all of the books? Okay, that's expensive. What was the cost of doing nothing? $10 a year. What was the cost of your fancy system to prevent stealing of books? Thousands of dollars. Maybe it was better to do nothing. So always consider doing nothing as an option. It's not always the answer, but it's worth considering. So in the case of players who get upset and argumentative when things don't go their way, if it's not that big of a deal, maybe you do nothing, let it blow over and keep playing the game. Now, if it becomes a really big deal and they're like shouting and screaming and pouting and throwing a temper tantrum, well, then that you can't just let that slide. You got to talk about that. You got to discuss that. You have to have an adult conversation. Like, what's going on here? You know, this is a game. Sometimes the dice go poorly. Sometimes the group makes decisions, they get in over their head and things go poorly. Like, sometimes this happens. Sometimes this happens. And have that conversation. They need to be okay with things not going their way from time to time. They need to be. And if people are constantly getting super upset and going nuts and crazy because something doesn't go their way in a game, right? Then you need to talk about that. And they need to learn to deal with that and cope with that. And if they can't, and they keep on freaking out, and it's negatively affecting the game, then maybe that's not the game for them. Maybe they need to find a different game where things always go their way. And that might not be your game. They might need to leave your game and find a different game that better suits them. That's an option too. Here's another thing too. As a father, as a parent, let me tell you, children will freak out and throw temper tantrums. They will have artificial crying sessions to manipulate you. They do it. And they do it very, very well. And it is intentionally done to get you to capitulate to their demands, to give them what they want. The temper tantrums, the crying fits, all of these things, they are doing these things to get their way. And parents who give into it and give them those things, the child learns that if you want something, all you need to do is throw a fit. Adults are not above that tactic. Adults can do this too. So players who throw fits and get upset and stuff because things don't go their way, they're manipulating you too, potentially. Maybe it's a legitimate reaction. Maybe it's not. Maybe even if it's subconsciously, but it can be definitely a manipulative thing to try to get you to coddle them, to give them what they want. They freak out, they get upset, they yell, they do these things. Why? To get their way. And then you are being subtly influenced. You now know that if you don't give them the thing that they want, they're gonna freak out. So what do? You preemptively give them what they want so they don't freak out. You're coddling them, right? You're giving into them before it even happens because you know it's gonna happen. Why? Because they're manipulating you. They're using these little crybaby, pouting temper tantrum tactics to influence you to get their way. Their motivations for doing so could be wide and varied, who knows? But they could be doing these things. I'm not saying they always are, but they could be. Just the same way a child crying because they didn't get a toy that they wanted at the store is trying to manipulate the parent to go back and get the toy so they stop crying. And parents who give into that and get the toy are reinforcing that behavior. And that behavior doesn't necessarily go away when the child gets older. Can confirm. So just be aware of this sort of psychological human behavior thing that happens, I guess is probably my point. I think that's probably all I got to say about that. All right. Hey, look at that. I think it's time to do our giveaway. Let's do our giveaway. If you have not joined the giveaway, we are giving away a D&D book of your choice or store credit on the DM Lair store where you can get lots of cool Dungeon Master resources. So there's a link in the chat, hopefully, to the giveaway. Go sign up. I'll give you a couple minutes here to go sign up really quick. If you have not joined the giveaway quite yet, please go sign up for that. While you're doing that, I'll just tell you one last time that our next Kickstarter, Layers and Legends, is launching on April 5th. There is a link down in the chat and in the description of the video as well, where you can go sign up to be notified when it launches. It's going to be super, super, super cool. So you should check it out. It's amazing. All right. And then I'm going to go into the giveaway thing here, and we're going to get ready to draw our winners. I'm not a dad yet because I'm not a dad. It's good. at that. Kirby. Oh, hey, wait. Ooh, we hit our goal. We hit our tipping goal for the Capital Area Humane Society. Awesome. Awesome. Proud to be geeky. Thank you so much for the $5 tip. You pushed us over the edge. We now have $500 to give to the Capital Area Humane. Oh, you gave $30 too. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, sweet. $500 for kitties and puppies. I love it. Zara Clanny says, I'm a parent and a preschool teacher, so I get tantrums a lot. Yes, yes. All right, here we go. We're doing it. We're drawing the winner. Ooh, here we go. Drawing the winner. Drawing the winner. Oh, this name looks very familiar. Why does this name look familiar? Interesting. All right. Tiram of Tarovia. Tiram of Tarovia. You, my fine fellow, have won. And it looks like you're here as well. Tiram says, I teach high school and I still see tantrums. Yes, you still see it. Because they know it works some of the times. And they keep trying it and doing it. All right. Congratulations, Tiram. I'm going to send you an email. So you can, I'll get you hooked up with your book or DM Lair store credit and stuff like that. So there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is all she wrote. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you have a fine, wonderful Friday evening. I am leaving now. It was a pleasure seeing you all and hanging out and having fun and talking about D&D, having a few rants and stuff like that. Now that we got all the frustrations worked out, we can go into the weekend and be relaxed and have fun. So have a wonderful one. I'm leaving. Love you all. Love you all. Bye. Would they do this thing?